Cinemoddities, late night movies with Rob, Ben, and Zack. This is a podcast about cinematic oddities where we discuss any media that is too bizarre, abnormal, or off-kilter for contemporary audiences. Occasionally these projects gel, sometimes they crash, hard, into the realm of obscurity. Join us as we delve into the cult classic Swamp. I'm Zack.
I'm Ben.
And I would like to catch the dog that does this. Oh, we are here to start a new series after the completion of the music movie series, our revisit to it, I should say. We are here to start something very, very different, the time travel series. And, you know, there's no point in hiding it. I know everybody reads the introduction or the title of these episodes, you know, on wherever they're listening to this. But we're discussing a movie where, let me just put it right off the bat, 0 out of 10, unwatchable. They don't stop any clocks in this movie. They just slow them down, right? Like, there isn't even a time out or anything.
Yeah, they're I mean, they look stopped. Is that worth?
I mean, do they? Do they look stopped? I mean, they move a little bit, I guess.
I know the bumblebee wing moves some. I think even there's like a bird wing that moves some. How fast they're going is really inconsistent.
Oh, I mean, yes. But it is Clockstoppers. We are gonna try and stop some clocks with this episode. But I mean, you know, you heard him in the intro. He's back after a month hiatus. He was doing things in the restaurant. It's Zack. Zack, you've returned. Now, I have some questions for you, Zack. We need to get some answers. And of course, you know, if there's anything that you feel should not be, put out into the public, you know, you can not comment. But a few questions about, you know, what you were doing in the restaurant last month. So one, should we all be preparing, when I say all, the three of us, should we be preparing to go to trial for crimes against peace because of our Beverly Hills Cop room in the restaurant?
100%. That's what I was doing. I was preparing the legal briefs for this.
Oh, God. I thought we were able to avoid, maybe reach a settlement or something, or by just stopping the Beverly Hills Cop room. But okay, so we'll put that on the list. Second question, has the condiment train gotten back up and running, and has the radiation leak been contained?
It's gotten larger. What happens, the radiation leak spilled over to it, and it created more cars.
Okay, but it is running? The condiment train is back up?
Oh, 100%. Okay. I don't know. It may be running too well. That's the problem.
Okay, nice. And then, lastly, are there any developments? Because this was I think, you know, last week's thing. Are there any developments in the nun versus rapper turf war over who reigns supreme as the leader and the runner of the Cinemoddities restaurant bingo night?
That one I'm still working on.
Okay. There we go. Maybe they'll have a DJ battle or something to throw it down and finally decide things. But, Zack, it's good to have you back. And I think the best place to start with this new series, this was your idea. You pitched it to me however long ago, maybe 2 months, and you were like, time travel movies. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, because we get to get Primer in there somehow, finally. But correct me if I'm wrong, Zack, wasn't the impetus of you even having the idea to do time travel movies the release of Clockstoppers on Blu-ray? Is that what you told me?
It was that and the 20th anniversary this month.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So here we are, Clockstoppers. Well, I guess I have to ask now that you set it up already. Did you get it on Blu-ray? Have you purchased the Blu-ray of Clockstoppers back in January? Oh yes.
Okay. My glorious 1080p Blu-ray. Not 4K, but it will have to suffice.
How good does the kid named Zack as well, so we'll be saying Zack a lot this episode. How good does Zack going full-on Flash Ghost Rainbow mode at the end of the movie look on Blu-ray?
It's one of those things where, like, as somebody who grew up with this on DVD, and I'd never seen it in HD prior, this is a film that's surprisingly aged well when it comes to, like, visual effects. Like, nothing looks aged. It just maybe looks goofy, because that was the artist's intent.
The artist, yes, Jonathan Frakes, which we'll have to talk about quite a bit. No, but I mean, this was one, like I think I mentioned at the start. You know, we were all into this. Zack was like, Clockstoppers. I was like, oh my god, I haven't thought about that in probably 20 years. And I think even Ben, you said the same thing, right? This was something from your childhood. You have some, maybe not full nostalgia, but some recollection of.
Yeah, definitely. I was aware of this movie. I watched it as a child. I didn't remember how much music is in it. It's damn near just music.
Yeah, it's full of needle drops. It made me think of when we were doing the 2001 Fort year, when we did like Saving Silverman and all those early 2000s movies, how many needle drops they had in them.
Right.
I gotta say, I mean, well, first off, there's 2 Blink-182 songs in this movie. But the first one they play is All the Small Things. Thank God it is not Miss You. So I did not have to sing Don't Waste Your Time on Me. Okay, that's it. I'll only do that one time for this episode. But no, Zach, I mean, I saw this when I was a kid too, and I like I said, I barely remembered it. But Zach, I mean, like you said, there's a lot going on. I'm sure you have a lot of context. Why is this the one that we're kicking off time travel movies with? When technically, it's not what I guess I also want to put out there. This is not what I would have gone to immediately with time travel. I mean, don't get me wrong, they are traveling through time in a different way, but it's not like, going back to the past or the future. It's
time dilation.
Yeah. So it's like a very specific, subset of time travel in the sense that they are traveling through time in a way. But please, Zach, enlighten us.
We're all time travelers. Time travelers, technically.
Yeah.
No, originally how this started was the idea that, again, the anniversary of the Blu-ray, it's a perfect storm, and the notion was kind of like unorthodox time travel stories, stuff that's not the typical, again, one-to-one Back to the Future where you're going back and seeing your grandparents or something like that. It was meant to be something, again, out of the ordinary, that we'll definitely sit there get to in the coming weeks. But my context for Clockstoppers was I remember this coming out in March of 2002. Never got to see it in theaters. I think all of us at some point were Nickelodeon's kids at this time. It was, in this being a Nickelodeon film, we were inundated with advertisements for this.
Yep.
And I was always aware of it. Got the DVD right after my 10th birthday because I got a DVD player for my birthday. So, like, one of the first things I did was I got this. And I was so excited, that notion of, like, wow. I think I've mentioned a few times on the podcast. It was, like, prior to a DVD player, you had to wait, like oh, God, months for something to show up, like, as, like, a Blockbuster previewed special on VHS. Being able to, like, walk into a store and buy the DVD, it was like, wow, that, I guess somebody who loved movies as a kid, this was a game changer. And watched it, and I guess I fell in love with it because it was just like anything. Like, it was one of my first DVDs I ever got. My first 3 DVDs were, again, no surprise, The Phantom Menace, Terminator 2, and Clockstoppers. Like, because it was the one that I bought with my own money. And I became very, very endeared to it because it's just probably something that was like, I probably watched ad nauseum because it was one of my first DVDs. And then I fell in love with The Watch. The Watch was like one of those all-time, like, my favorite movie props. And I have this very faint memory, and I wish I could find it, like, through, like, the Wayback Machine. Nickelodeon.com sold a replica of The Watch, which now, in retrospect, seems very peculiar now that I've done so much research on this particular watch. And I remember trying, like, my mother was going to buy it for me, and something happened, and we didn't. And then, like, it disappeared off the website, obviously. And then it wasn't until about a couple years ago, because the watch in the movie is I'm probably mispronouncing this, a Sunto Vector watch, which is like a watch for, like, hiking and things like that. It does more than tell time. It's got a compass. It tells you elevation, barometer. And about 2 years ago, because it's been discontinued for, like, over a decade now, I splurged and bought one off eBay. And this is why I bought a camera, everybody.
Okay.
I have the watch. And I've basically worn the watch religiously for 2 years. I almost never take it off. And yeah, it's not into, like, a huge amount of context, but it's one of those movies that's always lingered. It's one of those films that you bring up to people because people look at my, like, ungodly yellow watch and they're like, "What the hell is that?" Especially in the era of Apple Watches, and I'm like, "You ever see Clockstoppers?" And they're like, "Yeah." They're like everybody's aware of it. It's one of those movies that, like, I don't think it's prolific, but I think it's something that if you're a, quote, 90s kid, you are aware of it, and you saw it at least at some point on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the trailers because I remembered as I watched this movie, for the first time since probably like 2003 or something. I didn't see this in theaters or anything. I mean, I remembered all the shots from the trailer, like the Francesca hitting the water droplets. I remember that being in there, like all the like them, the 2 main characters superimposed over, like, a still image and them, like, walking through it and stuff like that. I remembered all that nonsense. But Zach, I'm also glad you brought up that this is a Nickelodeon movie because, man, I haven't seen a Nickelodeon movie in a hot minute. I was going back and I was thinking, I was like, what was the last Nickelodeon movie I even saw? And I thought it was going to be the Series of Unfortunate Events movie where Jim Carrey plays Count Olaf. Turns out, no, I've seen one since then. I've seen the Dora the Explorer movie, Dora and the Lost City of Gold, which was a Nickelodeon movie. But I was also thinking about Nickelodeon Studios. Before I looked into this, I took a guess. I sat down and I was like, man, what was the first Nickelodeon Studios movie? For some reason that popped into my head. And I took a guess, and my guess, of course, was Good Burger. And I was wrong. That is the second Nickelodeon Studios movie. And see, Zach, now that I can see Zach on the camera, he's getting very pensive. I wanted to know if either of you guys had a guess at what the first, by a full year before Good Burger, was the first Nickelodeon Studios movie. A movie I have completely forgotten.
I don't remember the timing. I know Rugrats is Nickelodeon.
Ooh, good call, Ben. You just got number 3. That is the third Nickelodeon movie. And
that's 98, right?
Yeah, November 98. That I did see in theaters. I remember that one very fondly.
Before Good Burger.
Yes.
Oh my god, because there was Snow Day. When did Snow Day come out? That was 2000.
Yeah, Snow Day is the 4th. So we have 2, 3, 4, and 7. So Clockstoppers is 7.
Oh my god,
I know,
before
right?
Good Burger.
Here, let me give you a hint. This is not the star, but this was probably one of the stars that drew the movie in. Rosie O'Donnell is in it. I don't know if that helps at all.
Oh god.
As herself or as a character?
As a character.
Is it animated?
No, it's live action. It is not riding the bus with my sister. It's not the Rosie O'Donnell plays a mentally challenged woman. I'll just put that out there right now. Which is also not a Nickelodeon movie.
Oh my god.
I
never would have remembered this.
I know, right, Ben? I felt the same way. I was like, Jesus, I don't even know if I've ever seen it.
Same.
Ben, what is it?
Harriet the Spy.
Gosh.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Young Michelle Trachtenberg is Harriet the Spy. That's I just completely forgot about that movie, but that's the first Nickelodeon. And then so after Snow Day, which was 4th, of course, then they get Rugrats in Paris. And then they do good old Steve Oedeker comes out with the Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius movie, and then we get to Clockstoppers. Oh man, Nickelodeon, good old Nickelodeon. Like you mentioned, Zach, I was a huge Nickelodeon kid back in the day, which is probably why this trailer was seared into my brain. So, Zach, you said this movie formed a lot of your life, and you loved it, and you became endeared to it, that type of thing. Upon rewatching it, I have to say, I mean, I kind of just turned my brain off after a while. I have some notes where I'm just like, well, why would this happen? Why would this happen? And the answer is because it's a kid's movie and it looks cool. But I have to say, I think this movie was some fine fun. I had a fun time watching this movie for the most part. But I'm really interested to know, Ben, what do you think about Clockstoppers on this rewatch? How did you take it?
So I know we made jokes about Beverly Hills Cop being one big Axl F music video.
Sure.
This was like one big late 90s music video. I felt like they had to get a stuntman to do the bike tricks, but they had to tell him, don't look like you're too good at this. Like, just be kind of okay, like you're a high school kid who doesn't really know anything.
I agree.
I have a lot of issues with the way that this reality works, where they can accelerate their molecules and become invisible even if they're standing still for long periods of time while they're invisible. And overall, I guess I kind of found it difficult to watch.
Oh, okay. I that's why I was saying I feel like when I turned my brain off, it got a lot better.
I don't know that I ever succeeded at turning my brain off. It just, I don't know. It's I had to watch it twice to make sure that I saw it once.
Okay, I dig that. No, I mean, let's just get it out of the way because it's inevitable. I feel like if we talk about these time travel movies, especially unorthodox ones, it's gonna have to come up in each of these discussions. You know, how the time travel works and the problems with it. I mean, you know, my thing was I like I said, a lot of it I just chalked up to, it's because, you know, it looks cool and just, you know, fuck it, whatever. It's a kid's movie. I feel like that had to be the thought process for some sense of it or for some time of it. But I mean, like, there's the shot that came into one of the ones that came into my mind is like when Zack goes back to his house and the bad guys are like raiding the the dad's office or the basement or whatever, and we see the lady like pull out some files from a cabinet, and she like lifts them up and she throws them behind her, but they like lose all momentum and then just freeze in air. And this happens with other things. I'm like, why do things lose their momentum? The whole dance thing at the DJ competition, I was like, they're just moving him, like they're not like moving him like stop motion, they're just controlling him like a puppet in real time, or their hyper time. Like, wouldn't that just make him like move as fast as they are or stuff? But I had all these questions. But Ben, I figured you would come at it the most critically out of the three of us. So please give us your thoughts on this reality of Clockstoppers, clock slowers, I guess we should call it.
All right, so I'm glad you brought up the dance thing. For one, if something were to touch you moving as fast as they are, it would destroy parts of your body. They broke his legs multiple times in the dance thing, and they murdered the boy, or Ditto, or whatever.
Sure.
He died. So for them to be moving him at the pace that he was dancing at, it would have been like hours for them.
Yeah.
And they would have had to like nudge and then run away so nobody could see them, and then nudge and then run away. So it's like the premise of this movie is that they're moving so fast no one can see them. But what if they stood still for an hour? Like, would somebody see them for a second? You know?
Sure.
It seems like they should. Beginning of the movie, it's just that something is moving so fast past you that you barely get to see it. Then something that is capable of moving that fast but sitting still is not doing that. So there's a problem there. They would have had to like leave the stage and come back and leave and come back and leave and come back to make that even possible.
It would have been the worst and most boring like stop motion animation process.
Yes. Aside from the fact that they moved him far too much, the times we saw him moving him, it's like if your body moved that fast, just one localized part of your body, it breaks. Other issues, I mean, I had the same momentum issue that you had, so like she's like poking the water out of the air. Why the fuck didn't that water just fly? Like, it suddenly was given momentum. Like, it should have just exploded.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But I mean, that was the thing where I think that moment, you know, the middle of the second act. This movie is also perfectly almost 3 30-minute acts, you know? And in that like middle of the movie, I'm just like, why did the papers lose momentum? And I was like, because it looks cool. Like, so that's when I think I stopped thinking about those things. That exact moment. But I'm with you. They should have just kept flying.
And I would say my biggest problem with this, I'm sure that you've heard, like, when we have things traveling in space, they're moving very fast, and if a dust particle hits something in space, it can damage it because it's moving so quickly. They would have gotten holes put through them just by walking through air. Like, if there was dust in the air, they're dead from walking at it that fast.
Sure. Yes. Thank you. I mean, Ben, also, I should say, the three of us, all here, we are very well versed in Einstein's theory of highway safety. But thank you, Ben, for explaining it to the audience.
And my other problem, which this one I'm not 100% certain about, I have a feeling that moving that fast, while the air around you can't move that fast, would make it very difficult for you to breathe.
Oh, okay. Interesting. They'd need some fast air, like in Tenet, you know?
Also, the liquid nitrogen that they took, if you were to bring liquid nitrogen with you, it's not frozen anymore. It's not liquid anymore, because heat is kinetic energy. And if you're accelerating the molecules of liquid nitrogen to the point that they can move so fast nobody can see it, it has way too much heat to be liquid.
Oh, okay. I didn't even think about that, but that's a good point for sure. Okay. I'm with you.
I mean, these are all just kind of nonsense scientific nitpicks. And, like, why can he bounce his bike off of water? Like, why can he bounce his bike off of water, but he can also breathe? Like, the rules are just inconsistent.
Oh, yes, very much. I think that, you know, that's what I kind of got as I watched this movie. It is very inconsistent, but I think the movie doesn't care. Well, I think, of course, the movie doesn't care.
No,
the movie doesn't want to get bogged down in any of this because it's, you know, it's for young adults. It's for the Nickelodeon group. And I think that, you know, One, while it doesn't care about it, I did see some reviews of this on the internet. Not really bad reviews, but people along the same lines of you, Ben, having a critical eye for this time travel. Them saying, this general idea of a few people jokingly saying, Jonathan Frakes was, of course, from Star Trek: The Next Generation for a long, long time. Shouldn't he have cared more about the science behind this movie? And no, of course not. I mean, it's I don't think the science was that extreme in Star Trek at all. But I gotta point that out. That blatant Star Trek reference where they even point out that it is from Star Trek. I was like, come on, movie. The Make It So #1.
Yeah, we have Star Trek in Venezuela.
Yeah, yes. Zach, I have to ask you, did you know that Jonathan Frakes, in his short time as a film director, he got a nickname in the movie industry? Are you aware of this? Have you ever heard of this?
I am not.
So he actually has the nickname. I found this in a Vulture article where he talks about how Thunderbirds, his movie after this, put him in movie jail. He is 2 Takes Frakes. I like that because it made me think of like 2 Pump Chump or something like that. But apparently he is 2 Takes Frakes because, he brings this up. Well, an interview with Vulture I found, they were like, oh, you have the nickname 2 Takes Frakes. And he's like, I do. And the guy says, or asks him, is it because you're so efficient? And he's like, well, that's what it is now. But it really came more because when I was filming my first movie, which was Star Trek First Contact, he said something, he didn't really know that he had to do 2 takes. Like, he did 1 take, he thought it was good, and he's like, let's move on to coverage, and his producers were like, no, 2 more takes, you gotta print more takes. And so he became 2 Takes Frakes, and I have to say, I will always think about that whenever I see him, because I don't really watch Star Trek anymore, or at least the old Star Trek, with him in it, but whenever I go back to Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction, which he's the host of, I will always think of him as 2 Takes Frakes. Speaking of which, Zach, I did go back and watch an episode or 2 of Beyond Belief after seeing this, just because I had it in mind. Would either of you like to take a guess as to when Jonathan Frakes' birthday is? Yes, it's that time of the episode. It is not exactly Ben Affleck's. He's a few days off. So, okay, I won't make you guys guess. I made you guys guess the Nickelodeon thing. August 19th, so he's very, very close to our Ben Affleck's birthday, which I always have to point out. So, I mean, with that being said, what do we want to get into with Clockstoppers? Yes, the nonsense, the time travel nonsense, it is in full effect. The movie doesn't care about any of that. The movie just wants to go from point A to point B. And I guess that's maybe where I want to start, is that this movie is just in full service of, making sure it gets to the next scene. Like, I definitely was watching this movie, and a lot of it is glossed over. I think a lot of it goes pretty fast. They just say, hey, go for it. Here we go. Keep going. I feel like it was a solid 90 minutes. I know, Ben, you had some issues with it where you watched it twice to make sure you saw it once. But like I said, I thought it was fine fun. I thought it had some wheels. Zach, did you feel that same way after, watching it for this recording? On your crisp Blu-ray, of course.
No, like I said, a lot of this, again, like Ben said, a lot of the scientific inaccuracies you can't help but look at, but I think a lot of that has to do with the culture we live in. A lot of it's just, again, we're used to nitpicking. No, this movie is unique in that sense. Like, it's inconsistent, but I think the scientific, accuracy, I think that's probably giving it too much credit, is not the point of this. I think this is almost more fantasy than science fiction.
That's fair. Yeah, and for young adults, that's kind of the gist. Yeah, that's just like, oh, what is this? Look at this crazy world. Yeah,
and I think that's more the like I said, I don't think this has a point. Again, this is supposed to be more. Again, this is supposed to be just like, I don't want to say disposable, because I think that's not fair. But I think it's just meant to be like almost like it's the equivalent of like an adventure serial for kids.
Sure.
With a slight tinge of like science gobbledygooks, kind of just like powdered sugar spread all over it. Like, it's not meant to sit there, be looked at that way. Because even like that point where he goes into like hyper time, and I'm like, and he's just passing through things, and I'm just like, wouldn't he fall through the ground? I'm like,
God, yeah, that was another one. Zach. It's like, why is he not being pulled towards the center of the earth?
Exactly. And so I'm just like, whatever.
He's too fast for gravity. That's the answer.
I want that on, like, I want to write that. That should have been, if I could go back in time, that should have been my high school yearbook quote. Too fast for gravity. Put that in like a Tinder profile. I'm too fast for gravity. I like that. Yeah, I mean, that whole thing. I mean, by the end of the movie, I was definitely laughing at some of those inconsistencies. One of the things near the end of the movie that for some reason I found, like, maybe it was like a little bit of me, like, you know, my brain breaking, but I laughed hysterically at the fact that the hyper time chamber where they keep the French Stewart and the doctor and like the kids are trapped in at the end, it has shutters to like close them out. I thought that was very funny for some reason.
It's because the script told them to build those into the contraption.
Yes, of course. I had the same thought. It's like, well, why is he, you know, not falling through the floor when he turns into the Flash Ghost, when he goes full rainbow mode, that type of thing.
But this is like a very, like, again, scrutinizing this movie in a different vein than how Ben did. This is a very, like, I kind of exploited this term. Like I've said, gonzo, bonkers. This is a very goofy movie.
Oh, sure.
Is it an
Like,
extremely goofy movie?
Maybe.
That's what
But
it's going to
just,
be
like,
called when Christopher Nolan remakes it.
This is the basis for T-Rob, another one of those connections between Christopher Nolan.
Yes.
And, but no, it's that notion of like, even some of the dialogue in this film, like I was kind of just laughing at because like, it almost comes across as like non sequitur humor. The fact when the two bullies throw Zack over the trash can and we see like the like school administrator be like, that is a perfectly good garbage can. Don't be throwing students at it.
Dude, that shit actually made me laugh.
That's like, but like, okay, we laugh at that now because that's like a joke like we would use in like, oh god, 2022. In 2002, like that is such a weird, just what would you even call that? Like a weird like turn of phrase? Like that's, and then even we have the point where we have the detective in the hospital room and this like in the deputy shows up with his cough and he's like, I told you cream, you twit. It's like, what? Why did we need this? Like, it's a weird, like, I guess what, Rob, a flourish, you could call it?
Sure, yeah.
An unintentional or unnecessary flourish. Like, it's goofy, and I'm like, I find it amusing, but why is this even in the movie?
Yeah, I'm with you. I have to say, I'm glad you mentioned the hospital scene. When Zack like wakes up in the hospital bed and he's all groggy, but he like comes back into reality, into real time, I guess. And the nurse or the doctor standing over him and says something like, "There he is, he's back," you know. And the cop pops into frame and he's like, "Where'd you get the van, kid?" like that cracked me up, and I'm just like, but you're right, it's those flourishes.
But there's so many elements in this movie. Like, you made a very interesting observation, Rob. You're like, oh, you could divide this film into thirds.
I wanted to actually, because after the movie, when I had this thought, I went back and I looked at timestamps. It is the 28-minute mark when the watch is first used, and it is the exact hour mark when the dad gets kidnapped. Like, it is literally 3, 30-minute acts where it's, like, all set up in the first act, learning how to use the watch and things going wrong in the second act, and then the big climax of stopping the bad guy in the third act. Like, he has the motivation, he has to, do it. It is literally that structured.
It is, but like that's the thing is that like yes, but you have characters like Meeker, who's on the poster, like all of this. He's pretty much in the first act of the film, has a minor part in the second, the first half of the second act,
yeah,
and then he basically has a glorified cameo in the third act.
Yeah,
and he has no
go Meeker. God, that was unbearable.
But that's again, it's a perfect amalgamation of like late 90s, early 2000s culture. Like the idea of saying that, and then even the weird, I don't even want to say DJ battle. It's just record scratching. Like it's not even, you couldn't even call it DJing. It's so just primitive in that regard. Like they're just making sounds by scratching a needle against a vinyl record.
Yeah, they're not even mixing a song or something, like you said, Zach, DJing. I have to say, when I watched this on Hulu, and I watched it late at night. I think I started at like 1 a.m. or something, so I had it a little lower, so I put subtitles on, to be ever since doing the whole thing with my neighbor saying, "Am I okay?" when I had Meet Joe Black at 100 on my TV, Zach. I always try and be a little more considerate. The subtitles during the DJ scene when Meeker is performing just say "mixing poorly." I love that little touch. It's like mixing poorly. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess, but yeah, I'm with you. That stuff was. It was so odd. And I'm glad you bring that up, because here's the other thing. I was actually shocked that in this young adult, maybe like kid to teen type of movie, like tweenish type of movie, I'm thinking, I'm actually pretty surprised that the them fucking around town scene happens, and then they have a DJ battle that they do their clock stopping with, their hyper time stuff. I'm surprised that it wasn't a sporting event. Like, I thought, like, the low-hanging fruit is do, like, a school basketball game or something, right?
But that's the weird thing. This is not like, okay. But this is the thing about this movie, though, is that it feels so relative to what that point you're making. It feels counterculture. Like, think about it. Zach doesn't like, he's not your typical kid. He's like a weird BMX guy. And much like Ben said earlier, every time we see him perform a trick, we never see his face. His face is always pointing away from the camera anytime he does a trick. We have Meeker, what works at the equivalent of a sports goods store.
Yeah.
But there's no conventional sports stuff ever going on. It's paintball. It's rock climbing. It's like all the stuff that's like too edgy for your typical. Like, it's a weird, like, mellow, watered down, like, edgelord thing. Like, that's the vibe I got from Zach this time. He's like a very watered down, safe edgelord. Like, oh yeah, he's a teenager who buys and sells things on eBay to make money to buy a car. And I'm like,
one man's
like,
junk
what?
is another man's down payment.
Yeah. And he's got the salesmanship with the typewriter. He types in eBay, you know, like not
crash-proof word
yes.
processor.
Yeah, crash-proof.
Minimum. I do take issue with the way he wrote minimum bid. That's actually just a setting. You don't write it.
Fair.
But Ben, how is the audience in 2002 going to know how eBay works?
I mean, that is a question.
So to that point, Zach, when you talk about him being an edgelord and very counterculture, that's the thing I was getting from his character in that first 30 minutes. You know, he's doing his bike tricks. He has the friend who works at, you know, he has the weird scientist dad, the friend that works at like the non-conventional sports store with the rock wall outside of it. You know, all these things. He has a bully. You know, he gets bullied. We see that happen.
Even the bully's a weird, like, edgelord,
yeah,
too. Like a watered down edgelord.
And for all those reasons, when I, you know, getting through that first act, like everything before they use the watch for the first time, I was like, this is screaming Back to the Future to me. Like, this is the Nickelodeon version of Marty McFly, because Marty McFly's got the bully. He's a skateboarder. He has friends, but he, you know, still isn't really like the most popular kid in school. It came across to me as them trying to like recreate the Marty McFly, you know, almost like every kid type of thing.
But this is the thing I found fast. Like, it's funny. This movie is so interesting for the things that either glosses over, or just ignores. There's no moment of ever seeing anybody at school outside the dad being like a college professor.
And the trash can thing.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
but like that's just like a core. In all honesty, they could have taken that sequence and shot it like in the town square, and it would have made no difference at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, Ben, did you get any of that vibe, that edge, like the edgelord or the Marty McFly thing I was mentioning?
Yeah, I definitely can see what you're saying with the idea that they made him like. I mean, he's okay. You said BMX, but I definitely think that he's on a mountain bike trying to do BMX.
Oh, sure.
Which is maybe even a little edgier. And then, yeah, like we get, you know, we get to see this kid like sell shit on eBay. Like, who does that? Like, who sold shit on eBay? Who went to pawn shops and bought things to sell on eBay? Fucking nobody, I don't think. So. Yeah, I definitely, like, they were trying to make him, like, I don't know, quote unquote different. Yeah. I guess. And it came across as very, I don't know. I mean, he's like a normal kind of understandable kid, I guess. And so in that way, he's actually pretty relatable. Like, he has issues with his dad neglecting him. He's trying to make money because he wants a car, and his dad thinks it's because of Francesca, who he actually just met.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, there's definitely a bit of that feeling of like edgelord and like you said, the Marty McFly thing, where like Marty's like a skateboarder. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's definitely that kind of feeling of they're going for like Nickelodeon kids version of Back to the Future.
Yeah. Which I have no problem with. I mean, like I said, it was fine.
Back to the Future was a decent movie.
Yeah. I mean, you know, hot take. Back to the Future's not bad. Yep. But I mean, you know, it came across to me as fine. It's relatable. I mean, it has. I think we mentioned it already, but like those Nickelodeon like style jokes. Like I'm thinking of when the kids run out of the house at some point, and the mom's like, "But I made breakfast," and she's holding up like shit shrink wrapped in styrofoam plates or something. It's like right out of like Moody's Point from the Amanda Show or something like that. The mom made some crazy facial expressions during this movie. I don't know if you guys like noticed that, but she is like going hard with her eyebrows in a lot of the scenes.
That sounds right.
Speaking of flourishes, I just saw this in my notes that I wanted to mention. Probably my favorite flourish in the movie, when Zack is in the hospital bed and the sister and the mom are there. The sister starts to play with the defibrillator and we hear the sound of it charging up. And I'm like, oh my God, she's about to kill somebody. Just on that real quick, on this tangent, I was looking up the sister because I thought she looked familiar, but I must have been confusing her with somebody else. Her name is Lindsay Leatherman. It turns out she's actually best known for being on General Hospital, the soap opera, for many years. An article I found from about her from Soaps in Depth, they love their soap operas, I guess. It had the blurb that she is an actress, an equestrian, a trick writer, and general manager of Hooch.
Of what?
Of Hooch.
Hooch?
Hooch.
She's a manager of Hooch?
So I read this and I was like, whoa, that's an interesting statement. Turns out that Hooch is an upscale lounge in Aspen, Colorado. So but I had to read the article to get that. But they just say general manager of Hooch. Very interesting sentence.
Hooch is like... It's like a word for liquor, right?
Yeah, like moonshine, hooch, that type of thing. Yeah, absolutely. So I was like general manager of Hooch, and so
that's a bold title. I don't know that I would ever claim that title.
Sure. Oh man, but I mean, like when she busts out those defibrillators, I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. Let's start seeing her shock people.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh man, I mean, so. The sister's only in it, 3 scenes or something. It's really weird at the end when she is attracted to young French Stewart, the reversed young version of Doppler is his name, I think, like that.
Yeah.
I think something like that. That came out of nowhere to me. Speaking of French Stewart, I mean, I love the fact that when this movie starts and we see the dude, like the camera focuses on the guy in the big fake, beard and the big hair and stuff. I love the fact that I could tell it was French Stewart before he even talked.
Sure.
But I mean, French Stewart's great in this. I mean, I guess we can talk about the cast. I know, Zach, it's going to come up. My biggest disappointment in this movie, Michael Biehn adds nothing as the main villain, right?
Michael Biehn is like, the thing about this movie is that they're trying to lean into like, because again, the producer of this was Gail Ann Hurd, who we all know from Terminator fame, and it's like, okay, you have Jonathan Frakes directing, who's known as like, even at this time, like a huge like, oh god, person in the science fiction community, and so it's like, okay, who else would be the bad guy? It's like, well, if we can get Michael Biehn, like, why not? The next thing about Michael Biehn is that like it's so weird to see him. I think he's talented. I think he does what he's told.
Okay.
I don't think he likes to like go outside. Like, again, he probably does. Again, he's probably a good actor in that regard. He doesn't probably like do anything weird. But again, he's meant to be mustache twirling.
Yeah. I also, the movie doesn't give him too much to do. I mean, but even when he is there, it's kind of like, I feel like the henchmen, the black guy and the Asian lady do more of the work than he does. And his whole thing just seems to be, oh man, I got to stop the NSA from taking this technology because I want to sell it on the black market or whatever. I have to say, in appearance in this movie, the short spiky hair, even the little soul patch that he has, gave me
soul patch is glorious.
The soul patch is a little rough. I don't know about glorious, Zach, but it gave me big time Joe Pantoliano vibes. Like I've seen Joe Pantoliano, I feel like, look like with the soul patch, of course, with the short spiky hair in some movies. I mean, I think Joe Pantoliano should have been the villain in this, because then we would have had another chance to talk about how he got the Duke.
Walsh got the Duke.
He got him. He got the Duke. But I mean, maybe he would have added a little flair or something. But I don't know. It was so weird that the henchmen, the goons, became more of a threat than actually Michael Biehn. At the end of the day, it was I don't know, it was disappointing because Zach, we love Michael Biehn from Terminator fame, like you said. Even that episode of The Mandalorian that he's in, he's fine.
He blows in that.
He's fine. He doesn't have anything to do with. I mean,
that's the thing though. Like, I think Michael Biehn, he works well enough, but I think he's not there to give a performance in this. He's there for Dad when he had to bring the kids to the movie theater in March of 2002.
Oh, sure.
Like basically, like that's Kyle Reese. Like that's like it's there for that reason. It's there for
Yeah.
Dad to point at the screen when he shows up.
I don't know who Kyle Reese is.
From the first Terminator movie, he's the guy trying to save Sarah Connor. Yes, yeah, exactly.
See, Ben is not that dad. He's not that dad in the theater being like, oh. But no, like I said, Michael Biehn, I've seen him in a couple of things where he's like playing weirdly. Because again, he's always going to be Kyle Reese. He's been typecast as that. Or what, Corporal Hicks.
Oh, sure.
And that, so the only other movie I've seen him in where he's really like not in his element is, oh god, I'm not sure either of you have ever seen this. Take Me Home Tonight, the Topher Grace 80s like rom-com movie.
I have not.
Take me home tonight.
Yes.
It's the movie that song's based on, right?
Exactly. It's like Bring It Back, Stacy's mom. But they do play the song in the movie, Rob. They do play the song in the movie.
Oh, they actually got the rights? Okay, there we go.
It does happen. But like even now, he plays the dad, and he's just very stoic. And I think that's the thing. Because it's weird, because even as Kyle Reese and Corporal Dwayne Hicks, he knows how to act. I think it's just people who just you're probably almost intimidated by him, like not like in a bad way, but just like, oh my god, like how do I direct this guy? Like this is the guy that's worked with Jimmy C. He's played these two larger than life characters. Like how do I tell him what to do? Like that's the only thing I can think of. So they probably just give him little instruction. And he just goes with it.
Yeah, maybe he needs more direction than people give him credit for. But then the other thing is, I haven't seen him in a lot of stuff other than the James Cameron things. I mean, and I mean, Aliens. I gloss over all the performances for the profound stupidity of that film, which I've talked about enough. But I mean, yeah, and maybe that's a thing. Like you said, Jonathan Frakes. This is his third movie. I mean, the first two were Star Trek movies, so I don't know if those count. But on that topic, I mean, in terms of like camera placement, maybe not the working with the actors, I thought this movie was very well put together. I liked a lot of the cinematography and the way it was shot. I mean, even from the beginning, that big, long pullback shot from the airplane through the airport to the van when French Stewart is supposed to be being sucked in or whatever the hell is supposed to be going on in that scene. I'm right off the bat, this is pretty neat, And there's some scenes where the camera's actually moving and things like that. I mean, I guess that adds to some of the interesting aspects of the hypertime sequences. But I mean, this being, of the 4 films Jonathan Frakes has ever directed, the only one I've seen, because I've never seen any of the Star Trek movies, I was totally fine with it. I thought this movie looked good.
I think a lot of it too is just even the visual storytelling of this. I think a lot of it, yes, we do have our exposition dumps, but I think for the most part, when we first see Zack experiencing hypertime, where he's cleaning up the garbage and he finds the possum, even that is pretty laid out, to the point where anybody can understand what's happening. Even then, when he something happens with the watch and it takes him out of it, and he drops the possum, and Francesca's freaking out, and she is about to shoot him with the sink sprayer.
Yes.
Even that, I think the movie does a pretty solid job of the characters unraveling the, I don't want to say intricacies, but just kind of the lines that this device can do, how it can manipulate reality in a way that, think about it, it's easy for children to digest. And on top of that, it doesn't feel ham-fisted, or at least no more ham-fisted than any sort of time, quote-unquote, time travel rules have to be explained.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's very accessible. There is at no point is there any confusion about what's happening, and that is a credit to the I guess the direction. I don't know all the movie terms. It's a credit to whoever decided how to make the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think you said it best, Zach. They figure out the mechanics in the movie universe. They figure out the mechanics of the watch incredibly quickly, and it's well, explained to the audience. And then something else I loved, right after the DJ scene, it cuts to Francesca, Zack, and Meeker all in the car together, and the scene just starts with Meeker saying oh man, this hypertime stuff is trippy. And I was thank God, movie, there was no scene where they explained it to Meeker, because I could see in a lesser version where it'd be okay, let's get our exposition dump of explaining this to Meeker, but he's not a point in the movie. It doesn't matter in the movie or anything like that. We get our exposition dump later when he's my molecules are moving fast because I heard my dad talk about this once, or something along those lines.
All right, I have a very incendiary, provocative question to ask.
We get political.
Oh no, I wish. Which is the clunkier, again, in quotation marks, time travel movie?
Oh god,
this or Tenet?
I knew you were gonna say Tenet.
Which one's clunkier? Tenet.
I have to agree. Tenet might be. Tenet's very clunky. I was about to say maybe the clunkiest time travel movie. I don't know about that because I have to think back to all my time travel movies. But man, Tenet is. I mean, that goddamn movie, that goddamn scene where Fleur Delacour, woman number one, I should say, in Tenet, when she explains that, you know, it's a type of radiation that reverses entropy. That is just like, you know, God, it's not ground to a halt. It's the car hit a wall.
Is it okay? So think about this for a moment, because like in my research for this, I'm not sure how far you two went, but like the overall consensus, because I listened to a few podcasts about this, and the overall consensus is, oh, this movie is trash, and not even for like the reasons that Ben gave, as like it dissolves under any sort of like scientific pressure. It's that like, yeah, this is stupid. Like again, just digging into the things like where'd the bullies go? Like where's Meeker? It's like paintballs. LOL, 2000s culture, stupid. And I'm just kind of listening to it. I'm like, yeah, like, is this a product of its time? Absolutely. But as a, again, weird quasi time travel movie, it's pretty coherent relative to like other films in the genre. And that was the thing I was kind of surprised about, because even I found a Nostalgia Critic video for this, and he's like, oh, like this has been like, I don't know, whenever it was like uploaded. It was uploaded years ago. And he's like, yeah, like I've been like requested this a lot, like at the end when he get like kind of breaks character. And he's like, yeah, I've been requested this because people always complain about it. But he's like, it's like fine. Like there's not really any reason to hate this film. Like everything it does for the most part, like it's intentionally doing. It's not like, it's not being stupid or clunky in the way that, like, it's weird to think that the 2020 Christopher Nolan film somehow is a more of a mess than the 2002 Nickelodeon movie.
No, I have to agree with you. I mean, I was not impressed with this movie, and I didn't necessarily enjoy watching it, but it is a very, like, straightforward movie. The plot makes sense. The government's concerned about things. Like, it's just, there's nothing, this movie is just not spectacular. It's not that interesting other than the things they did right, but I there's nothing to hate about this movie.
I have to agree. Like I said at the start, it's fine fun. And Zach, just to I think echo what you were saying, I didn't listen to any reviews, but I always dig down like reviews at the time, and then I go down the Letterboxd rabbit hole. People on Letterboxd despise this movie, which I was very shocked by. Like it sits at a 2.2, which is pretty low for Letterboxd, like overwhelmingly 2 stars, and all the reviews are things like somebody gave it a 1.5 star review. This is just like one of the most popular ones, and they just list off things in the movie. They're like Blink-182, BMX tricks, Nickelback, eBay, and it's just like, is that why it's bad? Not really. It's just of its time, if anything.
Yeah, but that's where it feels like it's like that weird part of like CinemaSins culture.
Oh,
like
yes.
It's just that, like, it's like I think the moment this, if you've never seen this movie or you forgot about it since 2002 and you watch this, and as soon as it begins, like after the French Stewart part, and you see Jesse Bradford and you hear, oh god, Blink-182, I think immediately people like you could audibly hear the CinemaSins sound. Like you could hear the little bell ding. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people just like it's this movie's an easy target if you want to shoot fish in the barrel.
Yeah, to that extent, wouldn't like I guess maybe since this is only one of these, we haven't covered too many of this like time period, young adult kids movies, I guess if you want to call it that. Is that something that just people do these days, like shit on these kids movies?
Oh,
yeah. And
but this is the thing I want to bring up. And again, being a hound of early 2000s. Oh God! Being the owner and president of the Hooch 2000s Early Nostalgia Club,
the general manager of the
Hooch 2000s Early Nostalgia Club. It's that notion of like, I was thinking about this movie, and just like, because there is some very like I found it almost like maniacally brilliant product placement. The people who make the watch in real life, like you see that logo of the watch, but it's so weird because like it's a watch that at the time like retailed for over like $800 in 2002. So with inflation, you're talking easily $1,000 watch, and it's like what like. If you want, again, I don't get it. It's like, is it a cool looking watch? It's like the equivalent of like using a DeLorean for a time travel device in 1983, 84.
Sure.
But it's like, you couldn't really, no kid would be getting that watch after watching this movie. And then you have things like when the bullies like douse Meeker in Mountain Dew. If you look at how the label is positioned toward the camera, it's like it's always being held by what's the one bully's name? Ditto. It's always being held with the logo facing the camera.
Sure.
And then when we see Francesca with hers, she has a Pepsi, and it's all the logo is always facing the camera. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, the subliminal advertising is just kind of like, it's like you think of like you try to do the math in your head because again we've talked about it a bunch over the years where you have like obviously the soda companies came in, the oil companies came in, bought a lot of these studios, even what's happening now like again Disney. It's that notion that like was Pepsi a big thing with Nickelodeon in the early 2000s? Like I the big thing I remember from early 2000s tie-in was like purple and green ketchup. That's really, like that's the only thing I can think of. And you think like every single time like whether it be nostalgia critic watching this movie, I see that Pepsi, like the Mountain Dew and Pepsi cups, and I'm just like, man, I'm like what is going on here? And just to add one more layer on this until I shut up, I wonder because Rob being the huge music person here, I'm like, where have I seen this like movie poster before? Like, and I realized in the Avril Lavigne Complicated video, as they're like going through like the mall doing all their like shenanigans, in the background like you have like one of those like static directories, and you see the Clockstoppers poster in the background numerous times. Okay, and I'm just like, think about like as much as we laugh about like Avril Lavigne, I know she's released like some new music that's very much going back to like her mid 2000s roots. But like think about it, like Complicated by Avril Lavigne's like one of those touchstones of early 2000s pop music. Maybe you tell me if I'm wrong here, Rob, transcended that to something like it's ubiquitous even for grandma and grandpa at home, or even, oh God, people born in the last 10 years. They are aware of that song.
Oh, sure.
And obviously we all know YouTube now is the main way people consume music. I wonder if like this movie has weirdly just like, oh God, I don't even want to say permeate, that's probably too strong of a word, but just it's kind of like an eyedropper's worth of like, to keep it relevant, Mountain Dew in the ocean. I just wonder like if it's weirdly snuck into the fabric of culture through like a back door.
Yeah, I'm interested in, if because of course when you pitched this, Zach, I had mentioned the Blu-ray. I was like, oh yeah, Clockstoppers. And when I talked to Ben, I was like, oh, we're gonna like Clockstoppers. Do you want to do you have interest in that? You were like, oh yeah, Clockstoppers. I would imagine for our age group, and probably with a wide like kind of surrounding around it, like a margin of error, if you will, that people would be like, oh yeah, I know that movie, and I guess I don't really know why. I haven't talked to a lot of people about this though, but I think it's something like you said, it's an eyedropper. Like it doesn't really come up that much, but when it does, everybody goes, "Oh yeah," that type of thing.
Oh yeah, that is a movie.
Yep.
It should also be stated in the Avril Lavigne Complicated video, there's another poster, but it's not a movie poster. It's a TV movie poster.
Oh.
And Rob, this is where we might truly hit the nexus of like my early 2000s nostalgia. It's Clockstoppers and it's Cadet Kelly.
Oh God. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we figured it out, everybody. We figured it out why I'm the bad person I am today.
I think you went back in time and you were the set dresser on that video for sure. I mean, we've been talking about the music. Like, you can go to the Wikipedia page for this and like look at the soundtrack. There's so much on here. Like we said, the Smash Mouth, the Blink 182. There's a Sugar Ray song, Simple Plan, Newfound Glory, Nickelback. We talked about, but we had to get to it. I think before we, I think it was before we started recording. They start playing, not surprisingly, in this time travel movie, time after time. But as soon as it starts playing, I'm like, this is not the Cyndi Lauper version, you know? This is not the one that everybody knows. It's a male singer. And I had to look it up because I was like, what the fuck is this? And it's Uncle Kracker covering Time After Time. And that was very surprising to me. I mean, not to jump the gun. Well, I guess to jump the gun. That's going to be what I want to play in reverse at the end of this episode. But man, that threw me for a loop. But it makes sense. Like, I'm actually surprised that there wasn't more like time-related songs or songs with time in the title in this soundtrack than I mean, what we get that. And I think there's on the soundtrack, the Cranberries' "Time Is Ticking Out" is also on there, and that's kind of it.
There's the licensing for music in this must have been like half the budget.
Sure.
Rob. Well, okay, explain this to me because understand music. By this time, like by 2001, when they were like obviously in post production, like adding music, was Blink-182 over, or were they still popular?
Oh, they were. I think they were still popular.
That's so to have that in like a movie like this, it must have cost them, right?
Oh, sure. I would definitely think so. I mean, even there's a Third Eye Blind song in here, and I think they were still there. I mean, especially Smash Mouth was, I don't know when they got the rights, when this was in relation to Shrek, of course, but, people want to hear Smash Mouth. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they must have paid a pretty penny for a lot of this music.
Yeah.
And that the music felt like every couple minutes it was like, hey, look how relevant this movie is.
Sure. Or kind of like you were like saying a bunch of needle drops. Like maybe it was like, well, we spent the money, we got to use it, we got to put it in the forefront.
But like some of this, like there's some moments in this where like, okay, like the Blink-182 song, All the Small Things, but even like you have like a second Blink-182 song, was it First Date that
First
plays?
Date, yeah.
And I'm like, did you need two of their songs? Like just the. Like, I get it. It works, but, like, it's that equivalent of, like, oh, God. Again, like almost like jukebox musical level, where it's just like, yeah, like this song, like, works on the most superficial level. Let's just plug it in here. Like, there was no, like, it was the most superficial level of thought. Like, it was like, okay, yeah, this works. Plug it in. And then even the Uncle Kracker cover being the most amazing like thing I discovered from this, because I'd never picked up on that before. And I'm like, Uncle Kracker, again, I had the soundtrack for this as a kid. And that only is on the soundtrack. I could be wrong, but I don't think it is.
Okay.
When I was watching this movie, my wife was sitting behind me doing some. She was like, I don't know, at a table doing some work, and she was like, "Are you watching Blink-182 the movie?" And I was like, "Basically."
She was like, "I thought the movie series was over."
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, it's there. I mean, it is. They pump it into our brain. But I mean, maybe that was the thing. I mean, well, looking at the other Nickelodeon movies, I mean, Good Burger. I mean, God, I hate to say it. I did watch Good Burger like 3 years ago or something. I don't remember that having a lot of music. That was more of the cameos. If anybody doesn't remember, Shaq and Carmen Electra are in Good Burger.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But I mean, the other movies like Harriet the Spy, we all don't remember at all. But like Rugrats movie, Rugrats in Paris, Jimmy Neutron. I'm sure they had some music, but this one, maybe this was one of the first ones where they're like, hey, we're trying to reach a huge audience. It's not just for like kids who are fans of a TV show, so let's get some music that'll maybe like drag people in, or maybe keep people entertained, I guess is the better way to say it. I could totally see that, absolutely. And then they don't even do it for a while. Like after this, it's Hey Arnold, Wild Thornberrys, the third Rugrats movie, the SpongeBob movie, and then it's not till 2004 that you get A Series of Unfortunate Events, which is devoid of relevant music because that movie takes place in a drab universe, which is full of sadness and things like that.
But how much? Okay, and this was more to like, again, going back to like the weird like not subliminal, but just like subconscious conditioning through like pop music. Is that notion of like they've been doing that forever. Like even to this day, like they'll play commercials for like movies, whatever, and they'll have some contemporary pop song. Like they'll be like whatever the latest Bruno Mars like top like 40 song will just be plugged in because whatever. But like it's so rare. Like what, Rob? The most egregious example of this was what? Suicide Squad, where like every single every like 2 to 5 minutes there's a needle drop. And this was
Yeah,
like almost as bad as that.
I'm-
Where it's just like it just plugged in hard. It's not subtle at all.
Yeah, isn't like the first 40 minutes of Suicide Squad like just music videos introducing all the characters, and some characters have 2 introductions that are music videos?
Oh, definitely. But that's so. But like, it's so. Even back in 2002, that was rare for that to happen. Like, yes, with things like Shrek, where like the commercial would be like, I'm a believer, and it's like the Smash Mouth version, and you're like, okay, I get it, like whatever. But even in Shrek, like you don't have like as bad as Shrek is, it doesn't have that insane level of needle drops.
Well, yeah, definitely.
It's not Guardians of the Galaxy level of just like we're just gonna beat you over the head with like 70s like pop rock.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. To the trailers as well. I mean, I'm thinking back to, and this is just pure, 20-plus-year-old memories. Like, back in the day when I was a kid, I remember trailers, not being just, let's play a modern song, or let's play, a rendition of a very popular song like it is today. I mean, I think of the House of Gucci trailer where they played that the slow version of that Blondie song. I think of trailers back when I was a kid, and it's like, you get, someone like Don LaFontaine or something to be, or the movie phone guy to be like, in a world where you can you can speed up and makes you go faster, and then it's intercut with scenes from the movie. I wonder what the transition was.
That's what okay, it's funny you mentioned Don LaFontaine, because it's not him. In this the trailer for Clockstoppers, it is narration with Blink-182's All the Small Things.
Okay.
It's both. It's not just one or the other. It lays it up not just with footage, not just with contemporary pop, also with a narrator laying out the plot.
Hot damn.
Wow.
Okay. Maybe this started something that we're ruined for today. Because
James Gunn watched this and was just like, you know what? I've got an angle.
Yeah. I mean, because now all the trailers that I see, whenever I do watch trailers, it's either for something like Dinosaur 6, Dinosaurs Again for the 6th time, like that, because I have to see it, or it's something that pops up on YouTube, and it's always that. It's always like, like just scenes from the movie with some song playing over it, and then the song will drop out, you'll get one line of dialogue, and then they'll like, do a dubstep drop where the song comes back in, and it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, subscribe to HBO Max right now or you're gonna die, basically. And then it's always the same fucking thing. It's cookie cutter.
I like that. Subscribe to HBO Max right now or you're gonna die.
Yeah, trailers are weird. I mean, there's a reason I've stayed away from them for 10 years or so now. Speaking of trailers, I did see, on a quick tangent while we're on trailers, I did see the trailer, Zach, for Baz Luhrmann's Elvis movie.
Okay, we can't go. Okay, do you want to go into that tangent right now?
No, we can't go. But, I mean, you kind of did say jukebox musical before, and that makes you think of Baz Luhrmann, too.
Can we do another prediction about Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, much like we did for Ghostbusters Afterlife, where we both guessed that it'd be Force Ghost Harold Ramis?
What Force Ghost are you trying to guess in this?
Force Ghost Elvis shows up.
I thought you were going to say Force Ghost Harold Ramis will be an Elvis movie.
Okay.
I mean, I just want to say on the topic, because I did watch the trailer because it popped up on YouTube. I'm very upset.
Bill Murray.
I am upset that Bill Murray. I am upset that Jack White is not playing Elvis, because Jack White as Elvis in Dewey Cox, or Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story, is probably one of the best scenes in that movie. Oh, Baz Luhrmann, you crazy, crazy man. But yeah, trailers. I'm glad you watched the trailer for Clockstoppers, because to know that it was this blend of contemporary and past trailer styles is just wild.
I'm trying to think. Well, I'm trying to think what other things from this movie that really, again, the subliminal advertising when it came to the sodas, the watch. Did you pick up on in the science conference all the different little vendor booths?
Oh, pseudo soy is something I have for snacks.
Definitely. Oh yeah, it's actually meat.
Yeah.
And then they're out for lunch. That was I kept laughing. I think they kept going by that booth. There's a little card that says "out for lunch."
Yes. That they're selling a food product, and they're not there eating their own food product. But no, yeah, I definitely saw that. Oh, that whole scene where Francesca is distracting the nerdy
industrial
guys.
Strength glue gun.
Yes, yeah. That was what blew me away, is that they're like, a French steward is like, oh, we need all this high-tech stuff so I can make this super, fancy scientific hyper time watch. And then they go to that booth and they're like, that's a glue gun. That's a flash drive. And it's like, is this the intense technology they need to make a time-stopping watch? And on that same vein, like, French steward, man, you made this whole fucking watch that, lets you go into hyper time, but it's not waterproof. Talk about a script contrivance.
You can make it the watch that can stop time, but you can't hotwire a car or pick handcuff lock.
Oh my god, the hotwiring the car thing. I felt kind of. They should not have included the shot of him, like, physically putting the stripped wire to slightly below the ignition on the car and it turns on. They should have just, played the sound of the car turning on. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. I have never hotwired a car. I don't know if you guys have, but I'm pretty sure you don't just take a wire and touch it to part of the exterior of the car or of the steering wheel.
My best guess as to how hot wiring works is that you have a hot wire and then you have the ignition, which has cold wires coming out of it.
Yeah.
And you try to put the hot wire to one of those cold wires so that the ignition thinks that the key was turned.
Exactly. Like, even when I see it in other movies, you see people, like, putting two wires together. This was like the equivalent of just, like, he touched it to something. And French steward even says he's now like, touch it a little below
to the steering column.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not doing shit. It was weird that they showed it though.
Well, they gotta make kids not know how to hotwire vehicles.
Oh, that's a good point. I mean, the kids, there should have been a disclaimer. Kids, don't try this at home. Don't take a wire out of a car and strip it with your teeth. But that scene at the science convention. Oh, which another line near the beginning of the movie that I liked when Zack and his dad are fighting, because his dad is neglectful or cares more about his research or whatever. Zack says, he's like, I invited you to come on my trip with me, and he says, the Congress of Applied Science. Now there's fun for the whole family. But that scene where Francesca is distracting the two guys at the booth, that is a scene directly out of the X-Files. There's a lone gunman episode where they do that exact thing. So I had that vibe. But I mean, I wanted to talk about Francesca, played by I believe Paula Garces. Yeah, Paula Garces. She is 27 while making this movie. She is a 27-year-old playing 17. She looks great for 27.
Definitely.
And I also have to say, when she showed up, I know you guys are going to love this, of course I know her as CSU lab technician Millie Vizcarrondo from Law & Order Special Victims Unit, which is like maybe 6 years after this movie or something, and she looks the same. She looks still very, very young, but it was great to see her. I don't think she's bad or anything in this movie. I just wanted to point her out. I thought she was one of the more fun elements. Once again, to the testament of the credit of this movie, I love that when she's still in hyper time, when Zack stops, when the brother is about to hit him with the bicycle when they're first learning it, she's just up on the balcony and she's like, took you long enough. It's like, fine, great. She just understands it. She's okay with it. That type of thing.
Yeah, I thought he was on the skateboard, but
oh yeah, skateboard, bike, whatever it was. Sure, yeah. He's in it for that one scene, and I also like the whole thing where she's like, you're gonna help me rake, and he's like, I was thinking like a date or a movie, and she's like, bitch, do my chores.
She's like, this way, when there's a lull, at least my leaves get raked. And
Yes.
then my wife was like, when's the next time you're gonna rake my leaves? And I was like, did this become about sex? I don't.
Yeah, what's this a euphemism for? No, but I mean, she's good in it. I was just shocked to see that she's 27 while making this movie. But she's fine. I mean, I guess I don't really have a problem with any of the performances, like we said, except really Michael Biehn just not doing anything. But like we already talked about. I mean, other than that, like French Stewart, he's doing his thing. Even the main kid, which I don't know from anything else. I know you said his name, Zach. I didn't write it down. But he's fine.
He's been around, he was one of those ones, like he was, again, he was in Swim Fan, which was like his weird angsty teenage
Okay.
Oh god, I don't want to call it maybe even a neo-noir where he's a professional swimmer and he starts getting involved with this girl and she goes off. It's like a Lifetime movie. It was that was his big it's funny, you either knew Jesse Bradford from Swim Fan or you knew him from Clockstoppers. He was also, I think, in Flags of Our Fathers, the Clint Eastwood movie. He had a role in that, which was because again, I knew who he was because of Clockstoppers. He also has a bit role, I think, in The Social Network. He's the one that's doing the hazing for
okay.
Andrew Garfield's character. And like he'll show up like in the weirdest places where like I'll get excited because I always liked him as an actor. Again, a lot of that just being blind nostalgia. And like I'll get excited and be like, like, is he coming back? And then like I think the last major thing he was in oh God, Rob's gonna hate me. A Marvel one short that was like on the Avengers Blu-ray, and it was supposed to be like what happened to like all those alien guns that were like left in New York after the events of that first film.
Okay.
And I'm like, it also featured Lizzie Kaplan. And I'm like, oh, because I think they like the end of it's like a 5-minute short, and like at the end they get like recruited to work for Shield. And I'm like, oh, are they gonna be like part of this whole thing now? And then like I looked up his IMDb, and like he hasn't done anything since like 2018. And I'm like, is this a guy who just like you know what? Like he has fun being an actor, and he just became an adult. He decided to become an adult. It's like, okay, like it was fun. Like I did this in my 20s and 30s, and I've moved on. I'm an adult now. So I don't know. I've always found him like he's a charming enough actor. He's not smarmy. Like he's a smart ass, but he's not like annoying. That's one thing I gotta give this movie credit too. Is like nobody's annoying in this, especially for like a kid's time travel movie.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, I think he's like you said, smarmy, but not. He doesn't really come off as like it's not like you're not rooting against him or you think he's annoying or anything. I think that goes back to what we were saying about him being like the Marty McFly type character. I said, I think his performance is fine. I think the one scene I wanted to highlight with him, though, where he's going a little too overboard, is when he's yelling at French Stewart when they're trying to sneak into the QT headquarters.
Oh, yeah.
Where French Stewart's like, I don't want to go in there. I've been trapped in there for 1,000,000 years or whatever in his time. And Zack starts yelling at him, and he is going hard with some facial expressions that he could pull back on for sure.
Well, even that whole like third act thing of like going to rescue the father at the QT base. Mm-hmm. Like I love how we see a shot of them comically just like running across the field in front of an office building. Yeah. Like it feels like they stole a shot because like we don't see anybody's face. It just feels like they put a bunch of like probably crew members in like the costumes. Like yeah, we need a shot of this. And like again, 2 takes Frakes strikes again, and it was like okay. And then next thing you know, like they're in like oh god, a ventilation shaft that's what 10 by 10 feet. Yep. It's like okay, I guess if it's like an industrial like warehouse, maybe they'd be that sort of ventilation. But like again, the comically large like ventilation fan that I'm like oh again, you think like oh this is gonna play like a role at something. It's like no,
that's way too big.
Yeah.
Like, no ventilation fan is going to give you a grate like that you can just walk through.
I love it though. Tells you to. I love it though because when they come through that grate after getting through the fan and they've lost French Stewart, when they come into the QT headquarters, an unauthorized hypertime alarm goes off. That got me. I was like, okay, they have a way to detect hypertime, and it says unauthorized hypertime alarm.
And it also has to be playing in hypertime because they hear it.
Yes. And, I didn't even think about that, Ben, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's playing in hypertime, and presumably not in normal time because like why would you need to hear it in normal time?
Yeah. Who knows? But yeah, that.
What about all the poor guards stationed in hypertime? Like, wouldn't they age like immediately? Like, what do you do? Like, it's like the equivalent of the guys that had to like sanitize Chernobyl. Like, what do you do? Like, spend like 3 minutes in hypertime security and get rotated out?
Yeah, the shifts are incredibly short.
I mean, they feel like 8-hour shifts. Yeah. They're just
to hire tens of thousands of people. Oh my god! But yeah, there's stuff like that because even like we see because then we didn't even talk about the oh god, Ben, I'm curious. Again, you kind of touched upon it, but the idea like you freeze people with like nitrogen in order to bring them down from hypertime. So our protagonist version of that is what draining a paintball of paint and filling it with liquid nitrogen.
Yeah.
That scene is pretty dumb when we see him doing a little surgery on the paintballs, and I'm just like, oh god.
But that's the thing though. Is that we see, again, Francesca has the paintball nitrogen gun. Then we see Zack with one. And then he takes the bike from, the courier. And yet he has this giant backpack contraption on his back. Mm-hmm. And as I was watching, I'm like, oh, is that like a thing that's going to like a backpack that's going to like feed him like an arsenal of these things? But no, in the elevator, he takes like the container for hold, like the, cartridge?
It's called a hopper.
Okay, there you go. It's like he sits there like, he switches it out, and I'm like, wait, why do you have that backpack on the entire time?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, because we get the whole thing where he like touches it and he's like, "Oh, it's cold," because it's cold, I guess, But you're right, there should have been, because we get the whole thing when he's raking leaves where he's like, "Who the fuck rakes leaves by hand? I'm gonna mess with your family's lawnmower." And in the scene we see him riding that duct tape janky ass lawnmower with a tube on it. It's not doing a damn thing, and it just cuts to all the leaves being cleared. So yeah, we should have got a scene of him like figuring out how to come up with basically like a chain gun of nitrogen paintballs.
Yeah, or at least a feeder for the...
Exactly, yeah.
But I don't even think it's, again, it's not even, like, remotely connected, because he has the extra cartridge, like, Velcro to, like, his chest. And I'm just like, why? Like, again, like, I get it. Like, it was something for, like, the costume, but, like, whatever. And what was the plan? Like, once they snuck into the base, how do they get the father out? Like, again, French Stewart draws him a very...
Oh, they put him in the backpack. That's what the backpack is for.
Perfect.
But yeah, like, how are they, again, though, it's like, what was the plan? Like, why are they going to QT? It's like, oh, they're going to rescue the father. How?
Yeah.
How are they going to rescue him? It's like, there was just kind of like, well, we're going here because the script told us to go here at this point.
Yeah, like I was
saying, how to get in.
It's just that, yeah. I mean, just go in reverse, But I mean, that's what I was saying. It's like the movie just cares about getting from point A to point B. There's no like thought about the future. It's just like, come on, let's keep our wheels moving. Because you're absolutely right. It's like they have no plan. They just go in and then of course French Stewart's like, I don't want to go back there. He's gonna pop up. My literal note when Zack takes the broken time watch out of the trash can. My literal note is decoy watch incoming. But they don't even show him switching it out. They just say, he's like, I switched it out. And then it's just like, okay, I mean, I saw it coming, but I thought it was going to be highlighted a little bit more at least.
In the elevator, he does hesitate. You do see him like he looks at the watch and he hesitates. And then like next thing we know, the elevator door is open.
Yeah, okay.
It's a little too subtle, but it is there.
Sure. The other thing about like something that's subtle, I guess, maybe not subtle. I was actually it maybe not confused, but it comes out of nowhere. The de-aging chair that French Stewart uses, I was kind of like, when the hell did this get established? But I guess that's what they
why they kidnapped the dad.
Yeah, that's what I gathered. But I mean, I was just like, what? I was like, okay, And what does the dad say at the end? He's like, it never got tested or something like that, and French Stewart uses it anyway, and it's just like, okay, he becomes a teenager again. But that's the other thing I was like confused about, like the college the dad was like the professor, which I assumed was college for French Stewart's younger version, but like was French Stewart a teenager when he was in college or something, or I don't know, but the movie doesn't care, so I shouldn't care either, I guess.
But I don't know that any like whether he was a teenager in college or not matters. The thing that I found a problem with is like he was supposed to make something that stabilizes you so you're not aging while you're. But instead, he makes something that reverse ages you.
I think,
he did it within a couple hours.
I think, well,
okay, in hyper time. So he did it. Who knows?
I think the thing is that it's supposed, again, like they keep like a couple times we'll see Michael Biehn like playing around with like a barber's chair.
Yes,
and I think the thing is that, like, again, Zack's dad, whatever his name is like, oh, we didn't test it, like you said. And then we see French Stewart sitting there. And I think it is supposed to stabilize it to some degree. I think it was just like, okay, French Stewart just, again, being as reckless as he was the whole movie with this technology, just like, he's like, oh, I don't want to be this old. I'm just going to dial it up to 11, see what happens. Like, what's the worst? Like, I'm surprised. Like, if this was any movie made today, it'd be a baby in, like, in a car seat. Like, if this was made today, that's what it would have been.
Yeah, like he went back too far. I like that. That's what it should have been.
Well, I like even like at the end, we sit there like it's like, okay, the doctor walks up, like the wife's there, the mother, and she's like, oh my god, like look what happened to you. And it's like, he's like, I'm more distinguished. And she's like, wait, where's our son? It's like, oh, we had to stop off first. I'm like, did nobody call mom to let her know that we're safe? Did they just go, like, they just leave the laboratory and go immediately to the car dealership?
Unless they were buying it in cash. Like, do you know how long it takes to buy a car?
Yeah, exactly.
If you pay cash, you know how long it takes to buy a car? Like, you wouldn't call your wife and tell her, like, yeah, you know what? Like, again, it's a cute ending. Like, again, like Rob said, momentum. You just want to get out the door, like, on a high. But like, there's certain like level of like where reality. This is not the same reality we live in.
Yeah,
Forget about time travel, just how people interact.
I thought at the end when they go and buy the car should have been totaled from the previous scene when him and Francesca are fucking around town and they write on the windshield and like pop the hood up and stuff like that. Like,
I mean, the hood hinges definitely should have been broken.
Yeah, but the car looks as good as ever, of course, because kid gets his car at the end.
He gets the car and the girl. But okay. Considering that you two gentlemen are far more inclined when it comes to the scientific nature of things and just when it comes to movies, can any of you explain to me that the grand scheme to escape from QT is for Zack to go into super duper hyper time? He goes through a wall. He opens a release valve for what gas is he opening like the release valve for?
I don't know. I don't know that it was marked.
Yeah, I don't remember either. For some reason, I'm thinking hydrogen, but I'm not sure.
The point is that it's flammable, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that explosion that they pull off is actually. I was like, oh man, they blew up that whole fucking thing.
Okay, so like the plan is for him to hyper time out of the containment center, pull this release valve, and then the father and Francesca hide in some weird little contraption that goes below the ground. But they left a torch going. And the only thing, and the whole point of this was for what? Them to take the shutters down, and somehow that connects the fire to the gas in the air?
I thought he opened the
Did he open the door?
I thought he did.
I think so. I think there is some type of something breaking or the door getting opened. Yeah, I think that's when the explosion happens.
But wouldn't the first thing you do is to turn off the gas? Like this is the thing though. Is like by opening the door, what different? Like, okay, it's the thing. If he released gas outside the containment chamber, wouldn't that have been the first priority to have turned? Again, I get it. It's a movie, but wouldn't it have been the first priority is to turn the gas off outside? But if the gas was turned on inside the lab, wouldn't it have already exploded regardless if they opened the door or not?
No, the fire was inside. Was inside the door they opened, right?
That's what I thought though. But like, was the gas on that long enough of time that it would have caused that level of explosion instantaneously?
No.
Okay, I'm trying to figure this out because that's a nice explosion. Like people are like, Zack killed people. Like we laughed at the bad guys in this. They didn't. The bad guys didn't kill anybody in this. The protagonist is responsible for more deaths than the villains are. Like this is some Man of Steel level stuff right here.
That's very true. I hadn't considered that.
Yeah, that explosion is impressive. I have to say, I like.
That's why the cops are chasing after him at the end. Like he's responsible for murder.
Oh, yeah.
Like these are Department of Defense contractors that he murdered. He trespassed and murdered them.
They were going to sell technology to our enemies, apparently.
They said that though, but they didn't do that. Like we never see them like.
I know.
The only thing that was missing from this is like the guy like it's like that scene from Taken where we see the guy like it's clearly like of like Arabian descent and he has Liam Neeson's daughter.
Yeah.
Like that was the only thing that was missing was like seeing like the sheik like with the briefcase of money.
Yeah.
That was the only scene that was missing from this.
You're right. Now I'm imagining that in the big final set piece of them in the QT building, but with the containment hypertime chamber, whatever you want to call it, that we have like the Middle Eastern sheikh, with like you said, the briefcase, and it's like, I'm here to see the demonstration of the hypertime or anything like that. Yep.
That's the way, like I said, it's just one of those things where like at the end, like I get it, like again, it's a cute ending, but like we see bodies, like when we see like the father and Francesca, like, they're walking over murdered people, and they're like, Zack, are you okay? It's like, shit, there's a body like bag that's gonna be like body bags that will be carried out of here. And then it's like, and Michael Bihn's only concern is to like freeze the girlfriend who's the least important member of this trio walking out of here.
Yeah.
Like, say goodnight, little man.
Oh God. And what a different time too, right? 2002 in the shadow of 9/11, the NSA is the good guys at the end. They save the day, or at least come in and save them. I was like, wow, talk about outdated.
Even like watching French Stewart get onto a plane was like a relic of a bygone era. It's like the equivalent of just like somebody buying a pack of cigarettes. It's like, man, just being the idea of just like, oh God, like the thing goes off as you're going through like metal detector and nobody just immediately pulls out a gun.
Yeah, like being nightsticked.
Pretty much. And he just
on the ground.
You can buy somebody's ticket like while you're waiting at the gate.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh my god, that was weird. Where he's like, I need a vacation, and just throws a wad of cash at the dad who looks at his crying children.
Just like, fuck being anywhere with these children. I might as well
But,
have
like,
golf clubs.
But even, but even this is the thing that's fun to think about. We're going to dissect this movie on a practicality level. This is it. Like, so okay, so let's say you're the wife with the husband with like what 3 or 4 screaming kids, and it's like, think about it, it's 2002. So how much is like a round trip flight for like you and your kids? Like, what?
To Costa Rica?
Yeah.
It's not cheap. It's not a couple hundred, because he throws them a couple $100 bills.
Yeah,
it's
like maybe 10 or 15.
What, $10 or $1,500 bills?
Yeah, I believe
that's like okay, but that's like what, like $1,500? So like,
yeah.
I can't imagine in 2002 tickets to Costa Rica in 2002 would have, for like a family. Think about it. Most of those kids are like underage. Like, I think the family made out in that transaction.
You think so?
I think they did. Like, why else?
I've never flown to Costa Rica, but I can't imagine that it's...
Okay, Rob. Robin, Ben, I'm going to do a real-time search for tickets to Costa Rica right now.
I mean, also think about, I'm sure the family had some like hotel reservations. Maybe they had like a whole vacation package. I really don't know. I mean, I took it more as the father saw it as, even if he took a loss, financial loss, he has a mental gain because he doesn't have to go on a plane with his crying children or something like that. And maybe he's looking for a divorce too. Maybe the wife's gonna be like, you fucking sold our tickets. You're like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Could be.
But yeah, I really have that's not even something that crossed my mind while I saw that stuff. I was more taken aback by the whole the trope of the family being ready to go on vacation, already wearing their matching vacation Hawaiian shirts. I was more attracted to that in the scene.
Okay, because as of now, ticket prices to Costa Rica to go to San Jose is like a $200 ticket.
Oh, really?
Wow.
That's okay. To be fair, I'm not really doing this like in the most. Again, I'm doing this is kind of like back of the envelope math, but that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to figure out what it would be. I think they made out on the deal. Like, that's the thing. Yeah, so like with like reverse inflation, like maybe $150 per ticket. And if it's a child's ticket, you probably get some sort of deal too. So I think they probably make.
I mean, realistically, that's.
I think again, like even like okay, we gotta talk about French Stewart and him bribing people in this too, because like that plays like at 2 different points in this movie, he's bribing people.
Okay, one with the information we've just gathered, we'll do some more research off mic. But holy shit, guys, I think all 3 of us should go to Costa Rica with the Patreon money if it's that fucking cheap. Like, let's take a Cinemoddities vacation. Holy shit! But 2, Zach, I'm so glad you bring up the bribing. What is wrong with the woman at the hotel desk that he bribes? Because she looks like she's having a migraine, but when she gets away from her book and when she like is called by Zack and it's like, did I check out, that type of thing, she seems fine. So my guess is that she has physical pain brought onto her while she's attempting to read. That's my only thought in that scene, because she looks like she is really hurting when French Stewart approaches her.
Oh, she looked like that's the thing. Like, she's reading this, and you can tell like she's having some like she's frustrated by reading. Like, it's a certain level. Like, it's more like, oh god, pathological almost.
Maybe she's reading like someone's memoirs, and they're really stupid. Maybe it's the thing she's reading. Like, God, you fucking wrote this, Yeah,
I could see that. I just like that she's like, I really need to learn how to read, or like break through the fact that it brings me pain to read.
This is my question to you though. If, let's say, for example, you were just working like as the concierge desk at a hotel and somebody wanted to know a room number of a guest, what is the dollar amount that you would need to be bribed? Like, where is that cutoff where you eventually like, okay, I'll give them what they want?
That's an interesting question.
I mean, I don't know. I would expect that they're trying to do a murder, so...
Yeah.
Let's assume with this...
I'm going to need half their hitman fee.
See, I think I'm with you, Ben, that I would imagine some wrongdoing is going to happen, like a crime, like any type of crime. But since I am an agent of chaos, I would say $1. I want the
just
crime
show me
to
you're
happen.
serious about it. Pull out your wallet.
Yeah.
I don't even need any money. I just need to know that you know.
What? Because at that point, though, it's like where is that cutoff? Like where do you say like, okay, I've gotten enough of that? Like, because clearly, like, if somebody gives you $100 bill and you're like she does, and it's like $200, and it's like, why stop at 300? Clearly, this person has a lot of money. Just keep going until eventually they push back on you. Like at this point, she tapped out while she was on a hot streak.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Zach.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a scene in Lost where Miles is going in cahoots to release Ben Linus from being imprisoned, and he says something. He's like, "I'll help you out, Ben Linus, but you need to give me like $10,367,480," and he's very specific. So let's should have done that. The woman should have been like, "I have a car payment coming up. Can you give me like, I don't know, like $436.78?"
I want it record that
She's very fiscally responsible.
You know who I am?
Yes.
You know who I work for?
Yes.
And you know he's put a lot of time and energy into finding you. So now I found you. And I can tell him exactly where you are. Or I can lie and tell him you're already dead. And I'd be willing to do that for $3.2 million.
You've arranged this meeting so you could blackmail me?
It's extortion, if you want to get technical.
3.2. Why not 3.3 or 3.4?
With inflation, $300 now would be $470.73. So you were pretty close, Rob.
There we go.
Oh shit.
So imagine working at a desk and somebody asks you for like a room number of a guest. It's like, okay, like here you go. Like, and that's the weird thing is that like, and where is he getting all this money from? Like, it's never explained how Doppler, French Stewart's character, is getting all this money.
Yeah, that's true.
Like these things happen.
That's actually a good point, because I was about to say, well, maybe he just went into hypertime and stole some cash, but he doesn't have a watch. He's only in hypertime because he's in the container, right?
He had a watch at the beginning.
That's right. He does at the airport. You're right. Okay, so but he doesn't have a watch when he steals a garbage truck, right?
No. But that's the thing. Yeah. I get it. It's a movie. There's shenanigans. But, like, this is one of those instances where you'd think, like, at the hotel desk, he'd go up there and be like, oh, hi, is there a Dr. Gibbs staying here? And she would be like, who are you? Oh, I'm his son. Then you see, like, a mirror behind her. He'd look up and realize, oh, wait, I'm not young anymore. He'd be like, excuse me, brother. And, like, something, there'd be, like, some joke like that, like, playing on the fact that he's aged so drastically. And it's like, no, it's just a bribery joke that kind of doesn't go anywhere. There's no payoff to it.
Yeah.
It's just because even like when Zack, you said, like, talks to her, she is for the most part pretty engaged. Like, if it weren't the same actress, you'd think it's a different character.
Sure. Yeah,
there's some really
very
weird
strange
moments in this.
Absolutely.
Like even when they have French Stewart, like, oh god, they have him with telephone cords like chained to the radiator, which I audibly laughed at. Like, and then we have Francesca for no reason taking a shower in the background.
Yeah, that was a little odd to me as well, where she comes out in the towel. Yeah.
And then, like, she comes out in the towel, so it's like, okay, whatever. And then, like, we have a moment where, like, she goes back in, and like again, French Stewart and Zack are talking back and forth to each other. Then she comes out dressed, and the camera just holds on her. And I'm like not even like in the background, like it's a shot of her, and it's like, did you really need that? Like. For the pacing of the scene, like, of shooting, like, was that necessary in editing? Or do you just like the shot of her with wet hair? It's like, okay, I guess.
Woman.
Yeah. I mean, I think that goes with what, I was saying, like, why do things lose their momentum? Because it's a cool effect, you know, like things freezing in midair. The big explosion at the end, it makes no sense, but man, we pulled it off. The other thing that in that thing that I wrote down was when Zack is driving the van and he crashes it off of the bridge because he leaves hypertime or whatever, and he loses control. The van does not hit the guardrail or anything. The van goes off a ramp, like it gets air, and it makes no sense. But it's just like, fuck it, it looks cool, and I'm just like, okay, I guess so, whatever.
But yeah, there's things like that where it's just like, it's like, what is going on right now?
Yeah,
even like there's a weird emphasis on kung fu too, because like we see the part where like Zack encounters the possum and he's like, whoa, get out of here. He's like, I'm gonna kick your ass. And he starts doing like all these weird things with like the broomstick, and it's like, oh, okay, like he's trying to be cute. Then we have the moment like in the house where the Asian lady is like going through all the papers like we referenced, and like he throws the baseball bat at her and she catches it and starts doing like all these martial arts moves with it. And it's like, again, I think this is the phrase that I think, Rob, I think you distill this movie to its essence. It's like, does it make any sense? No, but we could do it and we did.
But we can do it.
Exactly. Oh man, I forgot about that scene when that lady catches the baseball bat, because there's something about the blocking and the eye line in that scene is all wrong. Like like the way it's edited, it looks like, Zack like whips the baseball bat or whatever, and she catches it from a completely different direction. Like it's not breaking the 180-degree rule, but there was definitely something off with the framing of that scene and that whole thing. But yeah, I mean, they were just like, let's do it. From the interview actually of where I learned about Two Takes Frakes, he goes on to say where apparently after his success with the Star Trek movies, this script had been like sitting around Paramount or Nickelodeon or Fox or whatever. I think it was Paramount.
Yeah, Paramount.
And for some reason, Frakes and Gale Anne Hurd were interested in it, and they like cleaned it up, and we got this movie. And it was just like, yeah, kids movie, Nickelodeon thing. We want to attract, some maybe teenage guys, I guess, is the demographic, the target audience. And they were just like, fuck it. It's like you said, it's probably more of a fantasy movie than it is like a science fiction. With just how quick everything goes and how they're just like, yeah, we want to get in, we want to get out, and tell this weird story. And I mean, even I think the ending gets to that. Like he gets the girl, he gets the car, like we said. The very last shot, it's revealed that he keeps he kept one of the watches so he can avoid the police and stuff like that. It's a very much like a kids movie type ending. And yeah, they did it. Once again, just to relate, I don't think that's any reason to hate this movie, which a lot of people seem to think it is.
Well, Rob, again, like that's the thing though, is that like I can't, like, this movie, it's fine. It's like a carnival roller coaster.
Yeah.
Does it compete with like anything like a Six Flags or a Disney? Like, no. But if you need like a quick fix, there's really nothing to get upset about. Yet people on the internet,
except when Zack is like, this foreigner is in a foreign land. I'm going to use that and her vulnerability to make her like me. I read a magazine. I mean, that was kind of gross. That's probably the only thing to hate, though. She's just like, I'm going to take advantage of a foreigner.
Sure.
Okay, there are some icky moments in there, like in the very, very beginning of the movie, where like him and Mika are like, "Oh, there's Francesca from Venezuela," and then like there's a moment where they're talking about like he's like, "Oh yeah, like in band club, like she's like doing PE across the hall,
yeah,
and like half the again, Rob won't start the clip."
Who's that? Hey, dude, where you been? That's Francesca, the new girl from Venezuela.
She goes to our school? It's gotta be good for attendance.
Tell me about it. She has PE when I'm in marching band. I get smacked every time the trombones turn to look at her.
This is perfect.
What?
Foreign girl in a foreign land, man. She's all lonely and vulnerable. I read about this in Cosmo. I gotta go talk to her.
Oh, no. You're gonna get faced.
I'm not gonna get faced, man. Come on. Come, watch and learn.
Okay. You're gonna get faced.
And like it just keeps going. And like what he shoots the paintball gun off, and it's meant to be like this weird like
premature ejaculation.
Yep. And it's like, and he awkwardly like puts it down and like looks side to side. I'm like, yeah, you're right, Ben. There is that. It's very fast, but there is that ickiness.
He even says something like, "I get hit by every time the trombone people like turn to look at her."
Oh yeah,
like definitely some like phallic kind of imagery. So I don't know, but yeah. Aside from that, like that stops pretty quickly. And he's like, "I'm sorry, I was stupid yesterday." And she was like, "Just yesterday?" And he was like, "No, every day. I'm gonna apologize for global warming because I'm dishonest when it comes to talking to women."
Yeah, but I mean that works for him. I mean, or it works for the script. The script makes it work.
But even but this is the weird thing. Is like even the ending of the movie, like yes, he gets the girl, he gets the car, he saves, like he beats the bad guys, he saves the day. It's like at the end, it's like not that it's like outside of the car, it's a pretty hollow victory because he had the money for the car by the first act of the film.
Yeah.
By the ending of the first act, he pretty much has Francesca. And we're never shown that, like, someone was going to try to take the watch away from him.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, all these payoffs are kind of hollow because he never really faces any adversity for them that he really doesn't have, like, locked up already. the car being really the only meaningful one, because that was the one that like you can tell by the end of the first act that he hasn't achieved. But even the car, he's kind of like outside of that cute little moment where like he sees the salesman like test driving it with somebody else.
Yeah.
The car kind of drops off as a priority. Like, there's not even a moment in this where we have to see him, like, oh, maybe, like, catching a bus because he doesn't have a car. Like, oh, wouldn't it be like he goes to Francesca's.
He's always riding a bike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's always riding a bike. But, like, think about it. He's like, oh, I need to borrow your mom's car because, like, my dad's in Kingston, blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't it have been great to, like, again, have the car play into it and be like, well, I don't have a car either, like something Francesca would say. And we see them, like, riding the bus. And that's where, like, she falls asleep on his shoulder.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Something like that where, like, really, like, we have all these payoffs at the end. But he really had no hurdles because even in all honesty, his mother could have co-signed the car like loan for him.
No. This was the late 90s. His mom wasn't allowed to work.
I was about to say something very similar, Ben. That I got that sense where he's like, Dad, I need your help getting a car. And I'm like, is the mom just like resigned to be their personal chef? Because it's like that's all she ever does is cook for them, it seems.
Can we, okay. Can we, I'm not sure. I think we're kind of like done talking about the movie because like there's some fantastic like snack options in
Oh, sure. Well, to get at your point of the things that tie up at the end of the movie, I almost forgot about it, after watching it because it's almost so vacuous. But they do try and shoehorn in him getting on, like, fixing his relationship with the dad. I have no recollection of what their little talk is at the end when they're in the containment chamber and they make up, but it kind of does happen, right?
Yeah, it does happen though, but like it's weirdly, again, it's not a priority.
Exactly.
It's not a priority because, like, again, think about it, like Zack only cares about his dad as far as I need someone to co-sign this loan with me. That's the extent of his affection for his father. Yeah. Like we don't see anything because like we don't even see a moment of like.
So are you suggesting that he went to save his dad because he needed his dad to co-sign for the car, and that without any other, like, without the car, he would have been like, nah, fuck my dad.
That would be a great point where if when he first when they first capture French Stewart, before they decide to go rescue the dad, they're like, maybe French Stewart could help me get the car.
French Stewart probably has enough money to buy that car on the spot for him.
Yeah. We'll let you go from the radiator if you buy this car for me.
But, like, wouldn't that be, again, this is meant to be goofy fun. Like, I'm not trying to attack it. But wouldn't it have been a much interesting movie that, like, instead of them having, like, that whole sequence of them, like, gallivanting through the town square where, like, oh, God, like, they put the dog peeing on the meter maid's, like, car seat. You have, like, what? I thought they were the bullies, but they're two, like, different, like, vagrants. Like, it's not – they look identical to the bullies, but they're vagrants that, like, are what? Stealing a bicycle.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have the one guy spray painting.
Yeah.
He stabs.
They stop vandalism.
Yep. Yeah.
You mean where they assault people?
Yes. Very much.
A bunch of really terrible things.
Yeah.
And what? Destruction of what? Government property by ruining the meter maid's car or like police taxi.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and she was like, "This bitch always gives me parking tickets." It's like, well, do you fucking park illegally? Because it's probably not her fault. They're like, let's take revenge on this person doing their job. That I didn't care for.
Like, again, even the salesman, like, you didn't put the down payment down. Like, it's not your car.
Yeah, what he says, like, he's told me he was going to hold it till the end of the week. And it's like, well, yeah, he's like, a test drive doesn't imply sale. I'm sure he could still test drive the car,
If he put, like, an earnest money deposit on it, which he would lose if he didn't buy the car, then that would be no, he wouldn't be test driving it.
Sure.
But I'm sure that didn't happen.
Exactly.
But Zack's all okay. But there's also the aspect too. This, like, even though, like, what's her name, Paula Garcia is like 27 in real life. They're all playing like 17-year-olds in this, so they're all underage. So like he can't. I think about it, he couldn't even test drive the car by himself.
Yeah.
If he wanted to.
Yeah.
Probably. And then even too the record scratching contest. Like, it's a nightclub. What nightclub legally allows in for contests 17-year-olds to perform?
Oh yeah.
It's a party.
It is a party, Zach.
It's a special event. It's not a normal night. It's a party.
It really did, Ben. That scene, I actually wrote in my notes. I was like, after Zack and Francesca go and fuck around the town with their new time travel abilities, they go to the DJ battle at the shelter.
The DJ.
because they do. They have like the future-esque like host, announcing who's going next and stuff like that, and it really gave me that 8 Mile vibe. But much worse.
Well, okay, I have a question. Because 8 Mile didn't come out until what? The end of 2002?
Yeah, later in the year. Yep.
Whoa. Like, that's like one of those ones, again, weirdly enough, like, you would think you could, like, think, but God, I know you guys just talked about that, but just how influential that film was, like, in everything. And this, like, predated it by 8 months? 9 months?
I think something
give or
like
take?
that. I think November was 8 Mile, if I remember, from however long we recorded that.
But yeah, no, there's, like, again, like I said, this is one of those movies, like, if you want to poke holes in it, there's no shortage of them.
Yeah.
But it's just like again, like Rob said, you turn your brain off as an adult, or as a kid, you just go along with it because you don't know any better. It's a goofy movie. Like, that's probably the best way I can describe it. Like, I can't even like look at this like objectively good or bad. I think it's just it's goofy.
Yeah, it's goofy.
It's like a cartoon come to life.
It's fine fun. I had a fine time watching it, and I'm not gonna like watch it again anytime soon or anything like that. I mean, maybe that'll come up more when we get to our questions. But I had no ill will against this movie. I mean, even the stuff that we got to pick apart, in the scientific terms. I mean, I think that's kind of part of the fun. Isn't that kind of part of the fun of us just doing time travel movies in general, that we get to complain about them because time travel is inherently always going to be flawed? I think that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Why else would we do a series about time travel?
Yeah,
there's no perfect time travel movie.
Exactly. Well, except one, which we have to make the joke, Zach. Die Hard.
Is it a time? I guess I don't know the joke.
Oh, that's from Avengers Endgame, when they're like, they're trying to ham-fistedly explain how time travel works in Avengers Endgame. Ant-Man Paul Rudd, he's like Die Hard.
Oh,
and it is not a time travel movie. As much as Zach wants it to be. But yeah, I mean, so I think that I had all my moments and stuff laid out. Was there any other final moments that we missed or anything like that?
Yeah, nothing from me.
Yeah, I'm ready for some sweet questions.
Okay, well then that brings us to our questions. I mean, as I think I've kind of already laid it out, Cinemoddities for me, no. It's a kid's movie with a fun premise, but that's it. It's not that odd. It's kind of like, I feel like if we looked at more kids movies that are science fiction related, we'd have all these same kind of things. I don't know what Jonathan Frakes' next movie is. Thunderbirds. I've never seen that. That put him in movie jail.
Disaster.
Yeah, he said that put him in
yeah.
movie jail, which I loved. I thought that was so funny. And he even had to they filmed it in London, I was reading, and he had to move back from London, and they had already rented their house in California, so they went and lived on a camp in Maine, him and his family, and I was like, this is fucking weird. But real
quick, Rob, do you know what that is, Thunderbirds?
No, I've never seen it. I just looked into it a little bit, and it was like a superhero-esque type of thing.
It's a live-action adaptation of a marionette puppet British TV show.
Oh, interesting.
It stars. I remember when it came out. It came out in the summer of 2004. It stars Bill Paxton.
Oh, okay. There we go. Another Bill Paxton movie I have to watch. But yeah, so no for Cinemoddities and Late Night. I think I just was getting at it. No, I think this was a fine, fun movie, like I said, but it's nothing that I think if you put it on. The only thing, this is one of the things that might fall into the category of, spurring some discussion. The only discussion you're going to get from this is, nitpicking on the time travel, or maybe not nitpicking, but, tearing apart the scientific notions of it. But there are a lot better movies to do that with than this one. So I'm going no to both. Zach, you being the arbiter of Clockstoppers, I have to say, one, I want your answers to the questions, but two, do you regret the Blu-ray purchase, or is it something that you needed to have in your collection?
I know, I'm happy. Again, for the last 20 years, I've been just riding that DVD continuously. Now I can watch. It's funny. It's the exact. It's outside of better picture quality. It's the exact same DVD from 2002. Because the only bonus features are this one 15-minute behind the scenes thing that was a promo piece, and the other one is the Smash Mouth Holiday in My Head music video in glorious 480p.
Not a holiday. It's a holiday. Nothing
God.
rhymes with holiday. So I'm saying holiday. That song?
Indeed. Your ears do not deceive you. Your ears do not deceive you, listeners. You have that. So no, I 100%, I was thrilled when this came out. This guy announced a few months ago on Blu-ray. I kind of want Snow Day on Blu-ray because I saw that in theaters, and I don't think I've ever seen that since. I really want that one next. I know they're finally releasing the Rugrats movie on Blu-ray, so they're really kind of going into the catalog of old Nickelodeon movies and pulling things out.
I'm actually surprised the Rugrats movie is not already on Blu-ray, because that movie
Who would buy that? Who would buy that though? Unless it's one of those things where anybody anybody who truly cares about that would probably go find it like on a streaming service. It's probably been on streaming forever.
Yeah, okay, that's a fair point with the collectible media, but I mean, I still feel like people love Rugrats to this day. I don't know. I guess
sure. I don't. Well, yeah,
but you're right with the collectible media. That's a good point. Sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things. And think, but they also did like 3 Rugrats movies. Like I remember I saw the Paris one, and that was kind of it. I never saw the third one where like what was it? Bruce Willis plays like a monkey or something. No, Bruce Willis. Oh god, Bruce Willis is the dog.
I don't know who Bruce Willis plays, but it's Rugrats Go Wild, I believe, is the third one when they cross over with the Wild Thornberries.
Oh. Oh god.
Ben sounded very disappointed.
I mean, I thought you were telling me there's another. I loved the Rugrats, man. I was all about it.
I got nothing against
Rugrats is one of those things where like it's like SpongeBob. Only the first 2 seasons were like the nostalgia episodes. After that, it got like really weird and like polished, like insanely polished because like they started making money off of it. Because like all those original episodes were like made like like in the late 80s, early like very 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 early 90s. And then like once it blew up, they just went into overdrive and just never stopped like making episodes. Like it became very polished. Rugrats is like people those things be fun to talk about on the podcast, like talking about like the original like episodes, then like when it really versus like when it blew up as like a cash cow like merchandising commodity. One day, maybe one day.
Yeah.
But no, late night movie, I give it a yes. I think when it comes to like just like peculiar time travel movies, I think this has a unique spot. Even though, like I think Ben said, right, it's time dilation, not time travel.
Yeah.
For Cinemoddities, I'm going to say no, but I want an asterisk because I think the idea of this, like the idea of a entertainment property being in the background of another entertainment property, as in like the poster in the background of the Avril Lavigne music video, I think that's a very interesting like case study in like pop culture resonance. The idea of something having like that sort of just like staying power, and then another entertainment property completely unassociated with it having like a weird like spot in it. I can't think of that many other examples of that sort of thing happening. So I just want that in there. I think that is the most Cinemoddities thing. The Avril Lavigne music video is the Cinemoddity of the Clockstoppers episode.
Okay. I can get that in the spreadsheet. Oh god, Ben, what do you think?
Late night. I mean, I guess if it was on TV, I probably wouldn't change the channel necessarily. Not right away, anyway. Cinemoddity, not really. I mean, I don't think I have much else to say about it.
Fair.
It's a movie.
That's fair. Okay, then that gets us to snacks, and I got one big one. I don't have too many snacks for this, but I got one that I was trying to work out, and maybe we can brainstorm it a little bit. But of course, in this film, we get the hyper time watch, and we get all these scenes of hyper time. I was thinking, what about in the restaurant we introduce a hypo time watch, where it makes the wearer go incredibly slow. And so basically, I want the opposite of this thing in the movie. And my idea was that we would tell bad or annoying customers that we are giving them the hyper time watch, or we just tell them that they want a free watch or some shit like that. And we basically make them, we slow them down so we don't have to deal with them. And we'd probably need a way that, we wouldn't want them to control it. We'd want, our wait staff to control it or something like that. I know we have a few things across the years of, to use the phrase, muzzling our customers if we need to. And I think this is another instance of that, where we could really, maybe almost freeze them in time in a certain way. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
It sounds nice. I mean, it's like cryogenics, but time.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to do it, Rob, that like we'd be one of those things where like, if we have a customer that's like angry at their food's not coming out, we start preparing it in hypo time, so like it takes even longer for it to come out.
Well, actually, we put the whole kitchen in hypo time.
Yeah, everybody blame customer whatever at this table. He's the reason everybody's food's taking longer. He had to That's complain.
Right. Yeah, we actually are trying to get customers murdered by other customers.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I mean, survival of the fittest in the Cinemoddities restaurant. Well, for the customers and for the wait staff. Probably for everybody except the three of us, something like that. Sure. So, what did you guys have? I guess I said pseudo soy. I wanted to throw that on the restaurant menu.
Of course.
Yeah, that was a nice little like site sight gag in the movie type of thing. Then to finish out mine, just I know we have a paintball course or a laser tag course, which we've added paintball to, whatever the hell it is. I would like to add, that you could, instead of using paintballs or whatever the hell else crazy things, we have frozen nitrogen balls. And so, we're having people freeze, or maybe not freeze each other, but, locally freeze them type of thing, like freeze there wherever it hits or whatever.
All it would do is hurt you.
Yes.
It wouldn't slow you down at all.
That's fine. That's good enough for the reality of our restaurant, which is the reality of the world, just so everybody remembers. But what did you guys have? That was all I had. So what else we got for the?
Well, we need to have a Blink-182 concert, and also like a really mild BMX course.
Ooh, okay.
Where you can, stand on your front tire and like balance, and people will clap for you as if they were standing around a Ford Focus and clapping for it.
Okay, I like that. A BMX course where you're only allowed to do basic tricks, something like that.
I like on the little guidebook it says like where people will clap for you. It explicitly says that where people will clap for you.
Well, it's probably the only time you're going to experience that in your life if you're using this course. So,
yes, yeah, there you go.
We're finally doing something nice for the customers. Let me put it that way. I don't think I had too much else. I mean, obviously pseudo soy. It's actually meat. I think that's what the tagline should be under pseudo soy.
I like that.
We should probably put like liquid nitrogen as a drink people can get.
Ooh, okay.
So you can commit suicide in the restaurant if you really want to.
Another way to do so in the restaurant, yes, okay.
Yes, yeah.
Maybe a little more directly of a way in the restaurant.
Oh yeah, that's a guaranteed kill, I think, if you manage to drink it. But it's so cold, it'll hurt your teeth. I don't know how you'll get it down.
Okay, I dig it. Zach, would you have any? You being the having this movie in your head for so long.
Oh sure.
Yeah, what'd you have?
I think we need some frozen dinner meals. We're you know what? We're just buying Swanson meals and we're just putting them into a big bowl, and that's how we're preparing stuff. I think that's great. Yeah. That must happen in real life, right? Like some restaurants.
I just want it to look like it's cooked, like I cooked it. It'll make it feel nicer.
Yeah.
Rob, do you remember that? I don't think we definitely knew each other by then. I remember there was he was what was it called? Like a math teacher in training at our high school. And he's like, he used to tell us about he worked at McDonald's when he was around in high school, and be like, yeah, we run out of buns all the time. We just go across the street and buy some. It's the idea of you think we're buying it from a supplier, but we just buy the same crap you do. I like that.
That sounds familiar. I think I've told the story on here before where one time I was at a Walmart and one of the ladies in the line in front of me, it was one single Asian lady with a cart full of 4 packs of egg rolls, and it screamed to me that a Chinese food restaurant had run out of stuff to make egg rolls, or they were just restocking straight from Walmart.
That happens all the time.
Exactly.
I knew people who ran coffee shops. Coffee shops / ice cream places. They'd run out of bananas for the banana splits. They just go down to the local grocery market. Or they ran out of brownies for their ice cream brownies. They just go to Kroger, the deli section.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is bringing back a memory. When me and my buddies in college, we went to Lake Erie. We went north in Pennsylvania, spent time at Lake Erie. We went to an Arby's for lunch, and the soda machine was down at Arby's. So what they were doing was they were pouring out of 2 liters into cups when people ordered drinks, and it was hilarious to see. What a time to be alive.
But just think about it. That's the equivalent of having oil-based heat in your house, and you run out of oil, so you do a bunch of space heaters. Yes, you keep your house warm and keep the pipes from freezing, but it's going to cost you a fortune relative to the little syrup packet and carbonated water, which costs nothing.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Buying commercially instead of buying bulk or whatever the right term is. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. It is not good for your bottom line. But anyway, though. But yeah, I think we should sit here, just scoop out some stuff into bowls. We'll do literally with the easy. It's plus 2. It won't even be for hard to make items, much like the mom in the movie. It'll be stuffing and green beans, some of the easiest things to make that require practically no effort whatsoever to do.
Sure. Frozen mac and cheese or something that you're supposed to microwave, take out and stir and microwave it for longer. Except we just don't fucking stir it, so they get something that's still a little frozen in the middle.
Exactly. I think we should also force, like, if we have branded glassware, I imagine, at the Cinemoddities restaurant, we have to force patrons to always be forcing it so the logo is sticking outwards so everybody can see it.
Ooh, that I like that. That's good.
And we need somebody to enforce this with violence. Like, we need somebody to walk around with
I was
sticks
just
to hit
about to
people.
say, how do we enforce this? But yeah, violence is definitely the answer. In
How
this
about this? We'll get the goons, Michael Bihn's goons from this movie, to be the enforcers of the. No, she knows how to use a bat. Ben.
No, I said not no.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay.
I thought he was being discouraging. He's like,
No.
they're not very good at their job. So.
Ben's like, fuck those goons.
I mean, she did freeze one of her own people on the stairs. I don't know how well we can trust her. But
I will say, one thing I did forget to mention in my own context. As a kid, like, this is gonna sound very weird and specific, so I apologize. But like, I remember, like, as a kid, my mother bought a power washer. And like in the summers, like, she'd give me something like $50 to like power wash, like on like the front steps, stuff like that, just to like get like the grime off of it. And I remember, like, if you took the power washer and like did it like without like at the ground, just like up in the air, it had that same effect as like the liquid nitrogen guns that the bad guys use. So I think we should get some power washers for the Cinemoddities restaurant. Like, I imagine at some point we gotta clean something, right, Rob?
we should power wash our customers.
Yeah, definitely.
Those dirty fucks.
I mean, I'm fine with that in the restaurant. Just so we could play with some power washers too. I like power washers.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Okay,
Yeah,
I like that.
That's pretty much it. Like, I think snack wise, it's all there. Because outside of the drinks in the, I guess we get again. I think we've kind of touched on all the low hanging fruit in this. I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other fruit.
I'm also thinking, Zach, when with your idea that of, the when we have like the branded glassware or something, like when the customers are drinking it, they have to always make sure the label's like facing so it works like as a full advertisement type of thing. I'm just imagining, there's that, like when someone, like when a new customer or a new person like comes in the restaurant, they're being led to their table by the host or the hostess or whatever. I'm just imagining like they pass a table with customers already and the customer has to like physically turn their glass so it's always facing the customer passing their table and shit like that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Very infeasible. But okay, yeah, with that being said, we've kicked off our time travel movie series. I think next week, I think it's safe to say that we are going to be diving into the one that I chose, that oh man, Primer. One of my favorite movies. If anybody knows Primer, it's a Rob movie to end all Rob movies. I can't wait to talk about some time travel with that. That one I think is a little more welcoming of scientific scrutiny and stuff like that. But that's a great movie. So we'll do that next week. And so I guess with that being said, I guess I do want to mention that we do have a small, a kind of relevant tie-in on the Cinemoddities Patreon, which everybody should go check out. We will be covering, very close to the release of this episode, I think it has already come out when you're hearing this, Ben and I will be discussing the Assassin's Creed movie. And while it's not really about time travel, of course, Ben, because we've already recorded that episode, so we've already discussed this, the idea of genetic memory is somewhat like time travel, but so it is kind of a relevant tie-in. But yes, everybody go over there, check out the Cinemoddities Patreon, patreon.com/Cinemoddities. Have a good fun with all these episodes as some tangential tie-in to series, our Adventure Time stuff, and of course, you should become a patron, because if we make enough money, we will probably record a live episode from Costa Rica or something like that. So everybody look forward to that. So
we're actually going to make a news here for patrons called the Costa Rica tier.
The Costa Rica. We want a vacation. Yes. It's like those Kickstarters when they're like, man, I really need a day off. Anybody want to give me $70, So, Ben, when you are not scrutinizing children's time travel movies, where can people find you or support you?
I don't know that I'm ever not scrutinizing children's time travel movies.
That's a good point, yes.
But no, you can, of course, you can find the Life Counter app on the App Store. That is Rockabear Apps LLC. That is my limited liability corporation that I've created for releasing apps. You can buy Magic the Gathering or other trading card projects through my affiliate link to tcgplayer.com, which Rob will link in the show notes. But it's bit.ly/the Life Counter, capital T, capital L, capital C. You buy the products you were going to buy anyway. As long as you use my link to get to the website, I get a kickback, and you don't spend any extra money. So it is great to support the application that helps you and all your friends track your games of Magic the Gathering and also track stats so you can rub your victories in their faces.
I always love that. I like that pitch. Absolutely. And Zach, what do you have to sell this week?
When I'm not on this podcast scrutinizing children's entertainment, you can find me on eBay selling my crash-proof word processor. Minimum bid $35.
Oh, I was just going to say that for the next time travel movie after Rob's, we're going to do Memento again.
Oh, God.
Dude, if we did another... Okay, oh my God. I think I've mentioned this to you, Ben, but Zach and I think we've mentioned it, but, peek behind the curtain a little bit. Zach and I have been thinking about, what if one day we did, a revisit series? That way I would be able to actually have a decent discussion about Southland Tales. We could do more, Wonder Shows in. We should do Memento again and never mention that we have a previous episode of Memento. Quite possibly just re-release the previous episode of Memento.
I'm definitely down. The episode title should just be, do you have fucking memento disease?
Do you have fucking memento disease? Yes, okay. I'll have to put that in the spreadsheet to so we remember that. That is great.
Cool.
Okay, well then the last thing is how are we gonna end this episode? I already mentioned. Now, guys, I have a quick thing I wanted to pitch to you. Of course, we do our episode, or we end our episodes with music from the movie or related to the movie in reverse. I think the only time we haven't done this was in Tenet, because the Tenet episode, of course, it played forward because the opening intro was in reverse, because we went through the turnstiles for that episode. I want to use Time After Time, the Uncle Kracker version, because that is still a mind-blowing thing to me. But here's my pitch. What about, instead of playing it in reverse, I stretch it out, I slow it down, or something like that.
Ooh,
or should I speed it up? Should it be like a 2-second, that type of thing, or something like that? I was thinking we should do something with the time dilation aspect. I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
I like speeding it up so literally the episode just almost practically ends.
You just hear
okay.
A loud, it's like that Family Guy joke where he's like, I can say all 50 states in a second. And it was like, Peter, that was just a loud yelp, And so the episode will be like, and it'll just end. Okay, I can get behind that. Ben, what do you think? Are you in agreement?
Yeah, I like that. I think we need to really emphasize that there is about to be music playing, so that people don't miss it.
And it is Uncle Kracker's Time After Time.
Trust us.
Yes.
Perfect. Everybody, let's see. Maybe we're breaking the form. Let's see if everybody likes it. Okay.
All right, Rob, don't end the recording.
No, I still got it going.
All right, I gotta do a mulligan real quick.
Uh-oh.
All right,
oh, God.
you'll know. No, you'll know when to plug it in. Cinemoddities, late night movies with Rob, Ben, and Zach. There you go.
Okay.
I felt bad the whole time for leaving Ben out. I felt bad the entire time. I'm like, okay, we gotta get this before. So I can imagine you can very easily install that.
Perfect.
Yeah, now I don't exist doesn't make sense. So I'm Ben.
Jesus! At least it's all the beginning. That's easy to edit.
You can do this as a blooper at the end.
I'll probably keep this in after the quick yelp of Uncle Kracker. I'll put this in.